Charles Johnson, dude, appreciate you coming out here and doing this, man. I know we were talking about doing this for a while. It's hard for me to get out to California, obviously. So I'm glad I was like, I remembered, I was like, okay, I'm going out to California. I need to hit Charles up so we can do a podcast. Because I've told many people over the course of my journeys that I know a guy that's like freaking Rain Man that lives in California. And like people like, and a lot of people probably are going to see this and they're going to recognize you and remember you from 2-3. For those of you that don't know, Charles and I served in 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines in the weapons company together from, I think it's 20. Did you get there in 2016?
Yeah.
2016 to like 2017. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You were in Fox Company before that. You spent a significant period of time. You're part of the last peer group to deploy to combat to Afghanistan in 2-3. Because that was the last time that 2-3 deployed to combat was that year. And then obviously since then, they disbanded in 2022, RIP. I'm sure that there's going to be some of your peers out here that might see this and be like, oh, man, Johnson, dude.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, again, I'm glad that you're able to do this, man. I appreciate you coming here. I know we keep in touch. So
yeah, I mean, anytime. It's just linking up schedules and stuff. We're both pretty busy and stuff, but it's been a real long time since we've seen each other. So it's, good to be sitting in the same room. And
was it 2018 the last time I saw you or we saw each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you used to come down to the duty hut when I was on duty at like 2:00 in the morning and be like, hey, what's up, bud? And we would just have like a 3-hour conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of the time when I just really didn't sleep a whole lot.
We just throw in some Copenhagen and just like chop it up for like 3 hours and talk tactics and talk mortars and talk all kinds of stuff. And I really appreciated that. Like at the time, I didn't realize the significance of it, but since then I've been like, you know what, that was like, that helped me kind of like get through some of those rougher nights when I was like, just bro, I'm dead to the world. You know?
I honestly, I don't think anybody ever complained when they had duty with me because I always had something to talk about or, something I was reading or something to teach and stuff, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, for those that know me know that, like, I can talk forever about just about anything. So.
Whenever you call me, I'm like, I got to make sure I'm at a good stopping point so I can sit down and have a conversation, So if I'm, like, about to go do something, I'm like, I'll call you back, I promise. I promise I'll find time to call you back. Yeah, but, like, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's good. I think communication is, like, super important, especially for, like, our community, like, staying in touch and staying like connected with people. I think that's really important.
I mean, definitely. Especially since I've been out. I mean, it's one of those things that like you have your family, right?
Sure.
But like some of the dudes that I served with that I'm, I that's who I go spend Christmas with. That's who I go spend Thanksgiving with. Like that's your like chosen family. And those are like, you wouldn't get friends like that anywhere else. I mean, I have, like friends at work and friends from other things, but it's not the same as like the guys I served with. And I think it's important sometimes to maintain some of those relationships.
Does it matter between combat deployments or guys that you served with that you didn't go to combat with, or does not really matter?
No. I mean, some of the guys I went to Afghanistan with, but like one of my best friends, I think he was in our initial boot drop or our second boot drop. So I mean, he's a gunny now, which is, I mean, and it's kind of crazy too, and a lot of that in that aspect too. A lot of my dudes that went on to reenlist, some of them are officers now.
Yeah, McGee, I think is right,
and then a Bongo.
Bon Giovanni. That's right. Yeah.
So,
I went to boot camp with him and ITB.
Yeah. So like that's always kind of crazy and stuff. I mean, obviously when I was in and stuff, there's a little bit of the, I'm in charge of you and we're not friends and stuff, but like, that's just business and that's how the Marine Corps is supposed to run and, the good order and discipline. But like now that I'm out, it's like, hey, like, I hope you guys didn't take some of that stuff personal. Cause like, it's not like I literally hated you.
Yeah.
It's just like, I hated some of the things you did. And some of the things that would cause for me on the back end that the newer guys aren't always aware that like, hey, your actions have some real repercussions, and not just for you, but for everybody up the chain.
Yeah.
Like I said, that stuff was just business though. I mean, now that I've been out, it's like, I'd go drink a beer with any of those guys any day, everybody was, good to go for the most part. So.
Yeah. Well, I think you did a really good job of kind of cultivating a pretty good culture in weapons company once you came over to 81s and stuff like that. Because, I mean, there was a reason why all of the company leadership felt comfortable relying on your opinions, and like they would ask you what your thoughts on things were, and they were doing that for a reason. Like it was because they had faith and confidence in your ability to lead the mortar platoon, and also just your MOS credibility, because you'd been doing it for a significant period of time. You deployed to combat as a mortarman. You spent a lot of time doing everything in the mortar world. And you were very proficient, and you had a lot of knowledge to give not only the junior Marines, but even like you probably, even if you don't realize it, you may have like had an impact on your leadership in the mortar platoon for sure, especially like the lieutenants and stuff like that who might have been in, a lot like a shorter period of time than you. There's certainly value on that, and like the company commander, the first sergeant, the company guns, like everybody knew. I know he knows what he's doing. I can be like, hey, I need this to happen, and I know Charles is going to take care of it.
For context, some people aren't always aware, but like typically when you do one enlistment, after you reenlist, you usually go someplace else, right?
Yeah.
And depending on how, I mean, everybody wants to be a squad leader or a section leader, but there's a lot of dudes and there's not that many of those spots, right? And so some people might only end up, being in charge of a gun, or if you're with a rifle squad, you might, end up being a team leader, or you just end up being the radio man. And if you reenlist, you'll usually go do your SDA, and then you come back, and if you're, good and you get promoted, you might come back as a staff sergeant. So like you totally kind of miss out on being the squad leader, or hey, you're the platoon sergeant, or hey, you're going to weapons company, and I know you were an 11 squad, or like at the time, like Staff Sergeant Penny, he was an assault man. So like and it's like, hey, now you're the 81 Alpha section.
I hope you
leader,
understand mortars,
right? So it's, and so what was kind of unique about my situation, and this is not something that was like intentional, it was mostly because sometimes things happen in the military. Other people don't do their job. And so when I was trying to reenlist, my package had gotten lost like a lot of times. And,
oh, God.
And, and I was a young corporal at the time. That's kind of when you're like, like staff sergeants know what they're supposed to be doing, right? And, didn't really know that like, hey, you should probably be like telling people.
Yeah.
And
you got to follow up.
We'd go to training op and come back, and this is we're going to Mountain Warfare Training Center, and you come back and it's like, oh yeah, I'm working on it. And you're like, hey man, it's getting kind of close, right? And go do another field op and come back, we're still working on it, and it's literally like dude, I'm gonna get out in like 2 weeks and I haven't done anything. Like what's going on here, right? Like, are we gonna have to sign like an extension so you can get this done? And basically he the career planner told me like, oh, well, like I lost your package, but like there's nothing that can be done because all the boat spaces are frozen and they're not accepting any new ones. And then so I had to go in there and, go complain to first sergeant and be like, I want to request mass. And he's like, don't do that. I'll make some phone calls. And
don't do that. Let me make some phone calls.
Like I got buddies at headquarters Marine Corps, and he went and talked to some people. And from that point on, the battalion completely changed how they did paperwork, because it was kind of just like, oh, that person's taking care of it and they've been around for a while and they're responsible. And now it was something that like, it didn't matter if it was a reenlistment package or like a package to go to a school, or even something as, benign as going to like the Humvee driver's course or whatever. Like that all had like a battalion routing sheet. So like if it got lost, somebody could go back and be like, that's the last person who had it.
Yeah.
Got called in one day and battalion staff was there, and here comes a career planner all just sweating. He's like, you only have to go to medical to get this signed off. But as a part of that, I didn't get a choice. And so I had to do operational forces, which means you stay with your same unit. Right?
Oh, wow.
And so
so that's why you stayed with 2-3 for like 8 years.
Yeah. So that's how I ended up doing 5 deployments in a row.
Yeah.
With Fox, and
5 with Fox and then 1 with weapons, or
so it would have been 4 with Fox and then 1 with weapons.
4 with Fox, 1 with weapons.
So it wasn't necessarily like, hey, this is how I planned things out to be and stuff. But I mean, as I used to tell people, like, if you want to be a master mason, like, you don't take a break to go be a plumber.
Yeah.
And then come back. Like, you might get some different insight, but if you want to be really good at your job, you kind of have to just do your job.
It's hard to get good at something if you're not actively practicing it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to be a good musician, like, you probably have to just practice being a musician. Like, you can watch all the videos you want on how to be a good musician, but if you're not actually physically doing it, it's going to be hard to learn. Same thing with like speaking foreign language. You could watch a bunch of videos on speaking foreign language, but if you're not actively doing it, I don't know how you would possibly retain that information or those skill sets, you know?
And there's a lot of things too that just like degrade too, right? I mean, if you're not constantly practicing FDC or your guys aren't out there constantly doing gun drills, like they know what to do, but they're never going to be quite as quick as they need to be. Or, you know, like little mistakes can crop up or you can kind of forget like, oh, I'm supposed to do this. Depending on the context, right? Because seconds can really count sometimes. It might be like, oh, I'm not quite sure, right? Whereas if you're doing it all the time, it's kind of just muscle memory at that point. I mean, I was doing FDC when I was my first deployment to Afghanistan. So, because our section had split up, and so we were in 2 different positions, and so the one person that was normally supposed to do it wasn't there to like hold my hand. So it's like, hey, and I mean they spent some time, you know, showing me how to do it and stuff. So it wasn't like I just got thrown to wolves.
So you're doing FTC in 2010.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then did that, you know, pretty much, you know, the 7 years straight. So I'd say it was pretty decent. I mean, there's other people that, you know, there's always somebody better, right? But been doing it for a while. And
was there a difference in your mind when you were doing FTC in Afghanistan compared to when you were doing FTC in like non-combat scenarios? Like as far as like did you feel more pressure because you knew people were actually relying on you, like because they were like in ticks and stuff like that?
Yes and no. So training there's always like unique challenges in training because like like one of the things that used to really annoy me, you go do your order and then they would brief all these grids, but like the grids are actually like on the range that like everybody's going to be maneuvering on. And there are some ranges like range 400 where we do shoot on the maneuver range, right? Yeah. But there's a lot of ranges that you don't do that. What people who aren't in the fires community, they usually do the order and then everybody goes and does their own thing, right? But then we do like our fires rehearsal concept, right? So then it's all the air officers and the RD liaison and the FIST teams and 81s.
And the facts and stuff like that.
And yeah, everybody that's involved in fires, like basically there's a whole other order that you have to sit through. And like that's always a kind of a unique situation too, because like, you know, it's like your battalion commander and you know, for the most part, the lowest ranking people there are like your lieutenants. Like there might be the onesies and twosies, first sergeants that are there, or maybe sergeant major, just usually because they're hanging around, you know, the CO or for the most part, they'll be like, what are you doing? And you're just like, oh God, like I wasn't expecting to have to like brief my little part.
Oh, wow.
But there's a lot that goes into fires. Like, I mean, fires is really what makes maneuver successful. I mean, that's beaten into your head all the time. And I mean, and it really is like the dance. There's so many moving parts and coordinating amongst so many different entities. And, but sometimes you would go through that and they would read the same grids and you're like, okay, that's on the maneuver range. Are we shooting on the maneuver range? And then people wouldn't like answer you. And then like you go show up to the range and then you realize that like you're shooting completely on a different range that's in a completely different direction. And so like sometimes you get things like that that are kind of stressful because you've been told like, hey, this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you don't really have that, obviously, that kind of contrived situation when you're in Afghanistan. But it's also different because like people rehearse a lot of times, right, for those ranges. So like everybody kind of knows what's going on. I mean, there was one fire mission that we had to do just for a loom. It wasn't anything special, but like person gets on the radio and you kind of end up being like a 911 operator and they're just like, hey, I need a fire mission. And you're like, okay, that's not how we do call for fire. But
that's not how call for fire works, bro.
But it's like, what do you need? And they're like, I need a loom, right? And they're kind of like frantic and stressed out, and it's like, okay, this is like I need you to tell me where you're at. Like, you know,
I need to know your grid. What's your grid?
And sometimes you have to walk people through it. But I mean, it's not knocking that person, but it's one of those things that like in really most places like call for fire really is not practiced enough. Man, I've taught so many call for fire classes to people, but like unless you're out there like doing it all the time,
dude, it's so hard to retain that.
It's not like second nature, and it's, you know. And if you're usually when you're in the situation where you need to do it, it's not like good. You don't have like a lot of time to think about it.
Yeah.
So I've had those situations. I've also had situations where, you know, it's just like super frantic and you don't know what's going on. And like, you got to be right. I mean, you're not.
Yeah.
I mean, even with a 60, which is a relatively small munition, I mean, it still has an ECR of about 30 meters. So I mean, like you can't just be dumping those wherever you want.
Yeah.
And
Especially if you have like a bunch of troops that are like pretty close by.
and then there's one situation where some of the biggest friction sometimes is just approval. There's one situation where like, because you get woken up. That's the other thing too that is very different. In
You're
training.
deep sleep.
Yeah. So I remember like getting woken up and people are just like frantic. They're like, we just need to go out to the mortar pit right now. And you're just like, what is going on? Like you're not even awake. And you go out there and
Who's waking you up? Like,
and
for this?
like the sergeant of the guard or
Oh,
corporal of the guard.
okay.
Like you just run out there. You're not even dressed half the time. Like you barely have your gear on. I mean, it's just
Do you
whatever.
throw some Crocs on or something?
And yeah.
Some flip flops?
So yeah, in this situation. So it's like I'm just running out there and like, I mean, you look kind of like a bag of ass, but people need you to do your job right now.
Yeah.
And so you run out there real quick, and then I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea. So we get out of the tent and go out there, and like right next to the mortar firing position right there was right next to the entry control point. And there's probably like I don't know, he's a young kid, like 10, 12 years old. And the squad just got back, and I don't really remember the circumstance of how it happened, but this kid's like guts are just hanging out. Corman's
10 or 12-year-old kid?
Corman's like elbow deep, like trying to like work on him, and you're like, oh my god, like this is like the first thing you see, right?
You just woke up too.
Yeah, just woke up, and of course it's not quiet.
Yeah, it's like
because like this person's pretty crazy wounded, and and so like people start like talking to you, and you're like your brain's kind of not even like processing what's going on, and they're like, we need you to shoot a loom. And you're like, what do I need to shoot a loom for? And the reason is the medevac coverage for that night was British pilots, and apparently whatever equipment they had for night vision equipment, they just couldn't see the LZ very well. But people are just kind of like freaking out, and I'm like, well, how am I going to shoot a loom over the LZ when the LZ is like literally right there?
Jesus.
So there was some kind of miscommunication that was going on between like, okay, are we doing it? And like, so I mean, I plotted everything because I mean, you don't have to dump the loom around like right on top of the LZ.
Yeah.
It illuminates a pretty good sized area. So it was either us or going to be the other mortar team, but then like there's like the approval process because then you have to go to battalion and that might even had to have gone up higher than that. So you're trying to like talk to other people. They're not aware what the situation's going on. Like the people that are trying to ask you to do things don't really know what they're wanting. And then,
oh no.
And so like there's, a lot of miscommunication going on, and, finally we get everything spun up and stuff. It ended up going to the other mortar team. They shot him and they got him on the bird. Right.
That young boy, they got on the bird. Okay.
So
did they ever say what caused his wound or what happened?
I mean,
no telling.
Gunshots.
Yeah.
So, I think they got in a little bit of a shootout. So not what I'd call like a tick or anything, but I think it just was out and about and
gunfight happened.
Yeah. That's the hard thing sometimes about those situations. I mean, people like nice, neat terms for that. They'll be like, oh, it was collateral damage, but it's like things just happen sometimes, and it's not always like clear why it happened or who was the one to do it. But, like it's your responsibility to kind of like pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they got to him, they tried to render medical aid and stuff, but it took some time to coordinate all that and stuff. So ultimately at the end of the day, the crappy part was me being on corporal guard the day after and like having to give the pink slip to his dad and be like, okay, hey, you can go to Camp Dwyer. Like that's where the body is. Sorry.
Jesus. So you as the corporal of guard had to deliver that letter to his father out in the town, or did he come to the?
No, they come to the entry control point and ask for an interpreter, and they're like, okay, go, talk to the sergeant of the guard, and then they're like, okay, let me get on the radio and find out, and they're like, okay, here's the slip, you need to go here, and like you'll give them the slip, and they'll give you the remains, right? So,
jeez,
yeah, and that was like. Pretty crappy experience.
In some
aspects. Just because, like, I mean, like some of the older men in Afghanistan. I mean, it's those people have had a very pretty not so fun experience over there for a long. I mean, it's just been constant war for long periods of time.
The Soviets were there in the 80s, and then
so I mean, this man literally looked like he was older than the dust itself, right? I mean,
it's
he's
just a crusty.
yeah, he's just a super weather, just I mean, like a rock that had been laying out there for 1,000 years, right? And like
Yeah.
he's just hanging off you, just like crying, and you're just like, wow, like I'm sorry, dude, like there's no, I mean, I wasn't involved. I don't really know why it happened or how it happened.
Yeah.
Other than like the little bit of involvement of having to try to shoot a loom, but it's like, here's your pink slip. Like I don't know how to make you feel better, but like here's your,
Yeah.
and of course he's pretty distraught. But
Yeah. That's a tough situation to be in, especially.
yeah.
I mean, how old were you at that point?
Oh, I would have been 20, 23.
23.
So I was a little bit older when I joined.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So you weren't like a kid. You were
No.
like you're a grown ass man by that point. But it's still probably it's a weird situation to be put into and not really be like, I don't know like what I'm supposed to do. I have to give you this, and now you know where to recover the remains from. But
well, yeah. I mean, if I had to really describe it sometimes, right? Because I mean, especially being the infantry in during that time before everything transitioned to peacetime and stuff, it's all about like like being a real tough guy, right? Like it's like everything gets beaten into you. Like if you don't do this right, you're gonna get somebody killed, or you mess up the littlest thing, it's gonna get everybody killed, and so there's a lot of training that is a lot of physical hardship, right? And so like to deal with that type of situation, like you're not really equipped to deal with that, and you kind of like just like you honestly just kind of felt powerless because it's like I can't tell you anything. Like we don't really speak the same language. Like I don't know what to say to the interpreter that's right here to like try to make you feel better. It's just I just have this old sweaty man, like basically like literally hanging off me, just like not just like crying. I mean just like really crying. Like and it's just kind of like sorry, dude. Like I'm sorry. Like I don't know how to deal with this. Don't know what to do with my hands. Right.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can really do to like improve that. And I mean, stuff like that happens. I mean, there's I wasn't there for some of it, but I mean, there's Afghan civilians that would hit IEDs, and for those that have been over there, they know that if people are going to go do things, it's not like two people in a vehicle; it's a bunch of people in a vehicle, and they're not big armored vehicles. So when they hit an IED, that's meant to blow up an MRAP or at the time, a MAT V, right? I mean, it like really blows up the vehicle they're in, and like, people have to go out there and deal with that. And so, I mean, it's like, really at the end of the day, kind of a not very fun situation, right? Because it's like most of them were not actively trying to like, shoot at us or, build IEDs and things. I mean, there's a lot of people there, like, were just people just living their version of how they think life needs to be.
Yeah.
They're just out there trying to grow their crops, and granted, some of those crops might be poppy because that's what made money. But I mean, they weren't necessarily like, trying to like get you. In fact, I would say for the most part, most of the people there were pretty like friendly. I mean, little kids would be little turds sometimes.
Oh, sure.
Throw things at you and stuff, but I mean,
throw things at you.
Yeah, they'd always like throw rocks and things, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like like literally if we were out on one of our vehicle control points and stuff, like one of the older elders, like every time he came by there, he'd go there every Thursday to go to the bazaar, and like he would always drop off like a big bag of like freshly roasted peanuts.
Roasted peanuts.
Yeah, you just drop it off. Be like, here you go.
So he's just trying to be like a good, like a homie.
Yeah, because sometimes you'd be out on security on patrol, and like people would come out there, and if you were on a security halt long enough, people would just like come up to you and be like, hey, here's a glass of tea, and they'd have like little candies, right? And you'd be like, okay.
This was in Marja?
Yeah.
That's not stories that I've ever heard before. Yeah. It's very interesting.
So
that's a whole different dynamic. I mean, there's a lot of layers of complexity to Afghanistan in general, because there's just so many things moving, so many moving parts. There's so many different like tribes. It's like a lot of people, like we've talked before. There's a lot of people over that don't have a concept or understand what a nation is. Oh, yeah. Or have an idea of what even a country is. They're just like living in their tribe in a small area. They try some of them are good people. There's some bad people too. Like obviously there's people that do weird stuff to kids, all kinds of weird stuff like that. I've heard plenty of people talking about those experiences. I never went to Afghanistan, so I've never personally seen it. I've only got stories from what other people have told me, but I would say multiple layers of complexity as far as like everything that was going on.
I mean, to the point that like so like the locals in our area there in Marja, they speak Pashtun, right? And so,
Yeah.
but the Afghan National Army that was with us, they all speak Dari, which is a dialect of Farsi, and
Oh, so it's similar to
they don't,
what Iranians speak?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's like completely like different languages. Like
Yeah.
they can understand each other, but not like it's not the same as like having like an in-depth conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so like you have those issues too, because before you go over, they make you take language classes and stuff, and some of us learn Dari and some of us learn Pashtun. So I got stuck with Pashtun. But like if people were like speaking Dari, and I don't know, dude.
Yeah. No say.
So yeah, and
No
I mean,
comprende.
and yeah, and there's so many different cultures. I mean, because Afghanistan just historically has been like kind of a melting pot. And I mean, a lot of people forget that like it's the northern northeast part of Afghanistan is like right there next to like the Himalayas and China. So like
Yeah.
so there's
That's easy to forget sometimes,
Yeah.
like this geographic
yeah,
location.
and it's also easy to forget too that the Afghan people are not like Arabs. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I think people will kind of lump Afghanistan and Iraq together, and it's like, yes, most Afghans are Muslim, but like it's not the same culture.
Yeah.
They kind of have a different version of Islam than that you would see over in Iraq. So,
Yeah.
so like you said, and it's like super tribal. I mean, from memory, like don't quote me 100%, but from memory, there's like 14 or 15 major tribes.
Yeah.
And
So a lot of different tribes over there.
yeah, and like they're pretty like ethnically different. I mean,
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
They all have a lot of different like cultures,
yeah,
like their own microcultures.
yeah, like I mean, like some of the tribes, historically have always been, like this is like the warrior tribe, and then other tribes have been kind of more the ones that were seen more as like merchants and stuff. And then I can't remember the name of the one tribe, but they're like mostly nomadic, and
Yeah.
they like nobody kind of messed with them. But,
Afghanistan in a lot of ways is like a different planet.
oh yeah,
It's so different from like every other country on earth, like as far as like the types of cultures and people you find there, from what I hear.
yeah, it's like stepping back in time. Like
Yeah.
I mean, some of those buildings literally look like they've been there since the Middle Ages. I mean,
Yeah.
mud brick buildings that they built, and you're like, man, this. I mean, it feels like you're stepping back, like Assassin's Creed. Like you put the little VR goggles in,
Yeah.
and you're like back in, whatever time,
Yeah.
medieval times, and you're just like.
You're like back when Jesus Christ was born.
Yeah,
It's
so,
like-
but I mean, when I was there, like pretty much everybody had like cell phones and stuff, and I mean, people have cars and stuff. So I mean, it's not like they're living like actual caveman, but
yeah.
but
They had electricity in a lot of these places, a lot of these towns.
yes, I mean, some of it has electricity. It just depends. If you went out like super far in the boonies and stuff, then it's pretty primitive in that aspect. But
Yeah.
like Marja was like somewhat built up.
It's a pretty big city.
So I mean, they had some of the amenities and stuff, but I mean, once again, though, you're also talking about a country that, like I said, for a really long time has been just under a constant state of war. So I mean, it's not it's not something that's like super built up, because things are constantly getting taken
Destroyed
over
and then
destroyed.
rebuilt. Yeah. It's tough to like build a successful civilization when there's constant turmoil in the country like that, especially if you don't have a lot of outside support, which most people haven't really like supported Afghanistan with resources and money outside of people that were just trying to provide them with weapons to repel other invaders.
Well, I mean, before really like the opium trade was like really big there at one point in time. This is one of those just random facts that I learned is like Afghanistan actually used to be like the world's largest producer of like cedar.
Cedar.
Yeah. So, and that's
No kidding.
once again, because like people tend to think of Afghanistan as like this like very Arab country, but it's not. I mean,
I've heard it's very fertile, like fertile soil. Like apparently they grow very good quality produce there, from what I've heard.
I couldn't honestly. I wouldn't know that, but it has some very varied terrain. I mean, if like in Marja is like more what you would think of is like kind of a desert. And they do tons of irrigation, so you got the wadis and then all the canals that you got to jump across and all that stuff. And but when you go up north and stuff, I mean, it's all mountains and caves, and I mean, it's a very like rugged place.
Yeah, that's another thing. The way people described as extremely rugged,
Yeah.
and like the people there have adapted to that rugged lifestyle. So like you'll see old men that are just like going up giant mountains that you're like struggling to go up it yourself, but they just walk up and down like it's like a daily thing for
Oh
them.
yeah. Well, I mean, you've never met anybody that can run faster in like sandals in your entire life. I mean, and that's that. I mean, I joke about that, but it's like that's one of those things. It's like, now that I'm older and I look back at it and stuff, and it's like, yeah, there's literally dudes that were like running through like not good terrain, literally in sandals, and it's like how they didn't lose them.
How they didn't lose
Blows
their
my
sandals.
mind. I mean, they don't even have the luxury of like Crocs where you can put sport mode on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally just like flip flops in some case.
They're just pinching that thong as hard as they can with their little toes, dude.
So yeah. But I mean, it's like I said, when we were there, it was kind of the tail end of the invasion to Marja. So a lot of the like what people would typically think of things going on.
What month did you guys get out there?
Oh, it's been a while. So it was during the winter time. So
it must have been like January or December of like 2010.
Well, we left Hawaii in like November time frame. So and then you spend some time in Manaus and then kind of one of the main places before you go out there. But
did you deploy? Maybe it was December of 2009 leading into 2010. That might have been because you came back in July of 2010, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that must have been because we were doing the 6 month. Like that's how I used to try to like track our UDPs was because we would deploy once a year for 6 months, and it was usually in December or July or something like that, depending on like what the rotation was before. I think that was how that was for that one. But you feel like you guys were there on the tail end of like the major combat that was taking place there.
So that was what was kind of unique about that deployment was we didn't actually like stay with our battalion. So Fox actually got detached from 2-3. Our sister companies went to Trek Nawa and then Nawa itself. And then we went over and got attached to 9th Marines just because the battle space was too big. And
oh, really?
And it was even too big with an extra company because I mean there was like squad PBs and
squad size patrol
and
bases.
Imagine having to man post, right? So you got to have at least 3 posts and a radio watch, and you're doing like 1 day patrol and night patrol, and you got to have 8 dudes for a patrol.
They're
minimum.
getting burned out probably.
Yeah, so dudes were getting slayed.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of unfun, angry things I could say about that sometimes.
I'm sure,
but
unfun.
Yeah. Man, you wouldn't believe it, but it was what it was, right? I mean, it was just that was the whole reason we got sent over there was to help cover that battle space, and then
probably helped a lot of people get a little bit more sleep when they that they needed to recover between patrols.
And that was something too that happened towards the end of our deployment too, was they were like kind of re-divvying up how big it was, and they were closing some of the PBs out and kind of consolidating some positions and things like that. Because some of those positions were just like, I mean, literally one of them, like one of the posts was literally they just drug like one of the blown up MRAPs, and it's like, okay, this is your post.
A blown up MRAP was their post,
and like one of the PBs literally like, this is the funny thing is like you literally could have got shot throwing trash away because in that little PB like one of the walls had just been like busted down.
Really?
And so it's just like a little bit of sea wire and like, like some of those positions were not like very built up like PBs. They were just something that was kind of thrown up ad hoc, and then when people got around to it and there was extra time and kind of resources, they got built up a little bit more. But yeah, but I definitely remember the one where it's like every day you'd go to throw trash out and in the burn pit, and you're just like staring through this giant hole in the wall, and you're like, bro, anybody could shoot at us from these buildings over here, literally just like throwing trash. I mean, it didn't happen to my knowledge, but it was just one of those things that you kind of think about every once in a while, and you're like, okay, throw the trash out, this like skedaddle off.
Scurry off.
Yeah, so there was a lot of like building new PBs and stuff towards the end of it, but really like
when was the main fight happening in Marja? Do you remember? Have you heard?
We left November 2010, so because I joined in 2009, so So it was like 2010 to 2011. So we got
okay. So you did get there in the okay. So I see. So it wasn't 2009. Okay. So if you left November of 2010, yes, that was like 1 month before the battle was technically over. So the tail end, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So so it was like the tail end. I mean, there was like the first part of that aspect was kind of a little bit more like kinetic and a little bit like. Because, I mean, like I said, nothing had been, like, super built up. It was just, like...
Even at the tail end, it was still pretty not that built up.
Yeah. And then towards the end, you know, towards the summer months and stuff, they started building new positions and things. And, I mean, depending on where you're at, it was pretty non-kinetic. But, like, the big claim to fame for Fox Company during that time is our company found more caches than I think any company... like ever did over there. It was
really?
It was like in the 300, 400 like caches.
What would you guys do with them? Just blow them in place?
Some of them they'd blow in place, and then other ones they would just like collect up until they got enough kind of stuff to go out there and blow it up. So
yeah,
just I mean that's up to the discretion of the EOD.
Oh yeah,
folks,
I guess that makes sense. They're the ones the subject matter experts on that.
Very colorful crew of people.
Yeah.
It takes a very certain type of human being to do that job. So.
Yeah, to put yourself in extreme danger on a daily basis. Yeah. You gotta have a certain mentality.
I forget the one dude's name. I just remember he had like the thickest New York accent, and he was like super short. It you know, sometimes you'd be out there and they'd be like, "Get up, yeah, it's your turn," right? I'm gonna do a horrible New York accent, so people are gonna complain about that, I'm sure. but he would yell at you because he's like, "I'm getting tired," so it's like, "It's your turn." Right here's the sweeper. Like if you see anything, you know, whatever, like just let me know. And
he would pass you the sweeper to start sweeping.
Yeah, so he'd be up there with the metal detector or whatever, and then he'd be like, "I think I found something." And he had like a little plastic knife, and he's like, "Well, dig it up." And you're just like, "Yeah, they told us not to do that." He's like,
yeah, they told us not to do that.
He's like, "I don't care what they told you." He's like, "I don't want to make sure you're not wasting my time." And because I mean, there's a lot of junk out there.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, sometimes you get like 10 cans. And
were these like Navy EOD dudes or Marine Corps Navy EOD or
Marine Corps?
Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other people that we had out there for us, I mean, they weren't EOD, but they're out there on our patrols, like sweeping for us.
Yeah.
Was the combat engineers, but they were reservists, and those guys were real disgruntled because they got extended. So they were supposed to go back, but their deployment got extended.
So they had been out there for a large majority of the battle and stayed even like past once you guys got there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the EOD is a tough gig. I mean, I know a few guys in the EOD community, some that have been in for a limited period of time, some guys that are captains, probably ready to pick up majors. Hell, I know a couple of EOD guys that were in during Vietnam, and a lot of their personalities are pretty similar. They all seem to be like pretty laid back.
Oh yeah.
All things considered, like considering how high stress that type of a job would be. And maybe it's just because they're like, I got to keep my cool, because like if I don't keep my cool, I'm not going to be able to do my job. Maybe I don't know if that's the case or if that's accurate, but that's my like what I would assume about their personalities. But
well, it's one of those things that you know, like they sometimes would joke is like if they make a mistake, like who cares? They're not going to be around to know it.
That's super dark though.
Yeah,
it's true,
but it's one of those things that like if you're like freaking out so much because the thing you're working on, you know, is inherently dangerous, like you're going to make a mistake. Like you do, kind of like one of the things I used to tell my guys all the time, like don't be in a rush to get killed.
Yeah.
Right. Because that applies a lot of. I mean, even in training, like people get so like amped up sometimes, and they just get in a hurry, and like you just start making all kinds of like crazy mistakes, and it's like, dude, just. And I know other people will say like, you know, slow, smooth is fast, but I just had a different way of kind of like saying that axiom, if you will. Where it's like, don't be in a rush to get killed. Like know what you're doing before you go do something. Like don't just go run in the building willy nilly, or you know, don't go do this thing willy nilly. Like just chill out. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like if it was gonna blow up, it would have blown up already, you know. So I mean, there's a healthy bit of respect. I mean, and even with mortars and stuff. I mean, because you know, I was in when like Hawthorne happened, and we couldn't shoot mortars for a while, and then we actually got those Marines from 9th Marines when
you said Hawthorne.
Yeah.
What's Hawthorne?
Oh, when they had the one incident they're out there on a range, and they double loaded a 6mm tube, and it like killed the whole
You
section.
talking about in 29 Palms?
No, so it was in Hawthorne. They're out there for mountain warfare training.
Oh,
And so
okay.
when we go do weapons effects, they don't have a lot of ranges out there on the mountains. So you go out to Hawthorne to go do that.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the
yeah.
news. That was a really big deal. The whole section. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's like 4 pounds of composition B. I mean it's not.
Because they dropped around, they double dropped around basically.
Yeah, they
right?
double loaded it.
Double
So-
loaded, yeah. Did they ever figure out, like, after they did their investigation, like, what happened to cause that, or like how that happened?
Yeah, so I mean, look, granted, it's been a long time, right?
Yeah.
So I may get some details wrong, but from what I remember, it was a newer section, which just happens sometimes. They were doing a range at night. It was in handheld, and like I could have a huge long conversation about how U.S. military doctrine says you won't shoot HE unless you have a loom to adjust.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I used to go round and round with Gunnar Summers about this. We used to have a lot of arguments about this.
Yeah.
But you can shoot HE at night with NVGs, but you like need to really be paying attention, and it can't be like newer people. But they were running a range, and they were like newer. It wasn't a section that had like trained for a long period of time. And it was at night, and if dumb things are going to happen, it's usually at night. And they were shooting, and when you're in handheld, you're not sitting in one position. You're typically like shooting, and then you pick up and move. They think that they had like loaded around, and then just in the context of like, okay, we got to get up and like do our thing on the range, like forgot it was in there.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
like moved to their alternate firing position, and then loaded another round, and then trigger fired it, and
That, what a terrifying, I mean, I don't know how much time they would have had to react to it, but that would have been probably.
not like any.
Yeah.
So
That's a terrible tragedy, that one, man.
stuff happens in training.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, 100%. I heard a story the other day of a Mark 19 in 29 Palms didn't get cleared out on a range, and they drove to like some other area, and after they just got done conducting the range, somebody like the PSOs didn't clear it out or something like that, and like it ND'd into one of the other gunners in their section and decapitated him, like removed his head.
Oh, yeah.
There was a big investigation because of that. I don't know what the results were. I don't know who the unit was or who the people were, any of that, but I heard the story about that the other day. And so like catastrophic things can happen in training when you're doing dangerous stuff, because it's an inherently dangerous job, dealing with explosives, dealing with machine guns, dealing with mortars, dealing with all that stuff. And it's there's almost inherent, like just as much inherent danger in training as, going to combat, minus the fact that nobody's shooting back at you, when you think about it. But
that's why on every range there's 10 million PSOs, and
yeah,
that's why they make you do dry runs like 30 times before you even shoot around, and that's why all that stuff's in there. Because I mean it's even for some of the bigger ranges and stuff, I mean you go like range 400 and stuff, I mean it like people really don't appreciate, especially on our end, like dude, we're shooting mortars for 2-3 hours straight, like, and the guns shift. Like it's not like, okay, it's on target and it just sits there. Like every gun shoots a little different, and they all shift a little.
Yeah.
And so you have to do in-stride corrections, and like and you're shooting pretty close on that range. Like it's very, very close to
on 400
to maneuver. And
Yeah,
and it's almost 3 hours straight. There's a lot of rounds to make mistakes, and typical time of flight's like 30 seconds, right? So when it's gone, you'd be surprised. Or at least on that range, typical time of flight's about 30 seconds. So people can move pretty far in a 30-second time span.
Yeah. So maybe there wasn't anybody within your area that you were firing before, and then somebody maneuvered into it after.
Yeah, and then maneuver elements too, and I'm not blaming them, but I mean this just happens because like they're dying. I mean,
yeah, they're out there getting slayed.
They're doing burpees the entire
for hundreds
time.
of meters.
And so like I don't blame them sometimes, but like sometimes they'll call in like phase lines late.
Oh yeah.
So like they'll say they're at like some position, but they're not. They're like 50 meters ahead. So I mean that's part of like coordinating with FOs, and like you're supposed to be paying attention because like I mean they got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And you're not like their main worry right now, but like you are. They just don't know it sometimes. So there's a lot of, having to really pay attention to the radio and in that regard and stuff. But I mean, yeah, like, I mean, stuff happens in training. I mean, just like helicopter crashes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was 2 incidents where CH-53s went down and people died right there in K-Bay. Heck, one of the CH-53s we had like that thing. Well, I mean, I know you know this, but if you're gonna crash, it's always like take off, landing, or hover, right?
Yeah.
And I remember on one of our ranges, like, man, that thing just like fell in the air like a good 15 feet.
Oh my
just
God,
because it
dude.
browned out and stuff. And I'll tell you, from the engineering side of things, helicopters like they fly, but they kind of don't. They beat physics into submission a little bit.
Yeah.
And no, but we were just over there and had come in and had the crew helmet on there, and the pilot's all like, "We're gonna hover for a second," because it's like brown out, right? So he can't see. And he wanted to wait for it to clear, but it got like a little bit of dirty air, and like so it lost a little bit of lift, and that was But the helicopter didn't take off. Like nobody got like seriously messed up, but the helicopter was not taking off. We all get out of the back, just like
You were in the helicopter, and it dropped like 15 feet.
Yeah, like 10, 15 feet.
Jesus Christ.
So I mean, like stuff happens in training.
Yeah. Well, and then of course you had the MV-22 crash that happened out in Hawaii too, with 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines when they came out there. And my friends, I had a couple buddies that were in that platoon because that was in I think 2015, 2014, 2015, because they were staying in like some squad bays that were over by where the IPAC is, like by the PFT start point on K-Bay, and like we were able to see a couple of those guys and. Like one of them was in one of the Ospreys that was behind the one that went down. And that was a rough spot for those guys. But, and then of course there was another one that happened in, Australia fairly recently. I think in the past few years, there's a few of those, but, yeah, I mean, you're right. 100%. There's inherent risk, especially with aircraft. Jesus Christ. And this is why I'm always paranoid every time I get, like when we flew on MV-22s from Yuma, Arizona to 29 Palms to do an insertion, I was like, my life is no longer in my hands right now. I'm like, Jesus, dude, please let us get there like in one piece, man. Like
in retrospect, because we went to support some of that stuff in Yuma, we had to make that like 400-mile trip in Humvees.
Yeah.
And high backs are like the oldest thing in the friggin' world. Like,
they were there at OIF one.
Yeah, the one I was in, I swear to God, we were going down the road. Like, if because they're always on the radio, like, you need to speed up, but it's like, bro, I'm
redlining this thing right now, bro.
It's not even that. It's like the moment that I try to go above 50 mile an hour in this thing, like I'm telling the driver to go faster. Like it feels like you're re-entering the Earth's atmosphere because it's shaking so hard that like we're literally like people in the back are like they're like screaming at us because they're like stuff's gonna fly out the back, right?
Yeah,
because it's just everything's just bouncing around.
It wasn't made to go that fast.
No,
and it feels like you're going like warp speed in the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, I mean your teeth are literally chattering, like you can't even see straight because your eyes are just like shaking so hard. and man, that was like. God, that was probably one of the most miserable times out there supporting stuff out in Yuma because you drive out there and then like I get what you're saying with the helicopter, but like everybody shows up and they get out and they do their thing and then they get back right in there. Like, dude, we had to do the range, then we had to pack everything up and then
drive all the way back.
Drive all the way back like 400 miles.
Oh my God,
it was like terrible.
Yeah. Well, at least you're like, well, there's a couple of mishaps that happened during that period of time. I won't go into that, but. Yeah, at least you didn't wreck. None of your wheels came off while you were driving.
No, that would have been terrible.
Yeah,
we did have a really funny incident with Border Patrol though.
Did you really?
Which is probably the funniest thing, right? Because when we went out there, we got like 2,000 pounds of high explosive, right?
Yeah. And so, that's true. Yeah, 2,000 pounds of high explosive.
And so we go out there and like literally this is part of like the brief. They call because normally you get like security rounds.
Yeah.
And then they're all just like. They're like giving us more security rounds. They're like, oh, here's a couple like belts of ammo for the saws and stuff. And you're like, okay, well, what do we need this for? And they're like, oh, well, because like, I guess in that part of like the Chocolate Mountains, like cartels go through there. And it's like, just in case. And you're like, okay. And
Were
then
we gonna shoot at the cartel if they
yeah,
come over
well,
here?
and they say like don't obviously like don't do anything.
Yeah.
But they're like you're so far out there that like in case something happens, like at least you have more than like 20 rounds for like 2 dudes, right?
Yeah. They were giving the snipers a bunch of ammo too when they went out.
I mean, yeah,
like live rounds.
They gave us rounds for 2 or 3s and everything.
Yeah.
So so we get out to the border patrol and it's like, okay, well, like, because you know how it is. Like, if you got your rifle strapped on you, it's like it's hard or whatever. And they're like, oh, can you like, because you go to get out and talk to them.
Yeah.
And that old boy probably just like was just like, oh yeah, they just get out there and like he walks out there and like I'm just strapped. And he's like, no, you're good. You get back in. Like I don't know what you guys are. Like,
they saw you and they're like, oh, okay, you had a machine gun. They're like, oh, okay, sorry. That's funny.
Yeah, because I get out there with my M4 and 2 or 3, but I have the bandolier grenades and stuff, and they're like, no, you're fine, dude. Just like you're good. Like we don't care what's in the back.
Yeah.
Because normally for that, obviously besides doing border patrol duties and stuff, it's also because out here in California, one of those, sorry, tangent time, but they also inspect a lot of things for like agricultural stuff too.
Oh
right?
yeah,
because certain fruits and vegetables and things like that, because those can have huge impacts. And you wouldn't think so, but like they can be big deals as far as it relates to the military. Because like when we went to Australia, you've never seen equipment cleaned so thoroughly.
Yeah.
Because like they inspected everything. Not even your personal gear, every pocket, all your uniforms, your bags, your flak, whatever, everything had to be inspected for like the tiniest of plant seeds, right?
Yeah.
Because like anything that gets over there can turn into this absolute like ecological disaster of unprecedented proportions. So
yeah. That's what they made us do in 2018 because the unit was supposed to go. We were in Okinawa. Yeah. The battalion had to clean every single piece of gear that was going to go with us, including all of our IF. We had to clean it so there was not even a single speck of dust, and then it needed to be completely dry.
Yep.
And we spent a whole week, like every hour of every day was spent cleaning gear, cleaning radios, cleaning all the guns, cleaning everything so there was not even a speck of dust. It was the most meticulous, like overkill thing I've ever seen in my life. And then after we're done that week, we finished everything, and then they're like, sorry, we're giving this to another battalion. We're not doing it with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, snipers were real upset.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
They were real upset because their ghillies, they spend so much time, seasoning by doing fun activities.
They just can't take them.
No, they made them clean them.
Oh, they made him clean them?
Yep, they scrubbed. They had to cut every piece of, jute and string away, and they scrubbed those things. And
I would have just been like, I'm leaving this.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like, why would? Oh my god!
Because anybody who's ever been around snipers in their ghillies, especially if the guys that have been in the platoon for a while, like those ghillies are like
nasty.
The most disgusting thing you've ever seen in your entire life.
On purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, for good reason.
Yeah, and they were out there just like you've never heard dudes just
groaning and moaning, dude. I'd be so mad.
Especially because I don't know. Did you ever meet Sergeant Green?
Yeah, Sergeant Green.
Yeah.
So he came and picked up some of my peers from the airport, actually, and I think he was a 52 originally.
Yeah,
and then he became a 17 afterwards.
Yeah,
that dude's like the only dude who's got a confirmed kill in Hawaii. Do you know that?
Yeah,
he like a dude held him and his girlfriend, I think, or his wife at gunpoint, and he stabbed the dude to death in Waikiki. He's the only dude that has a confirmed kill in Hawaii. And the police showed up. He called the cops. He's like, "Hey, man, this guy held us up at gunpoint. He was threatening to take our lives, and I stopped the threat, and he got off. Like, he didn't get in trouble with it, and God bless him for it, man. Because honestly, like, I can't imagine. Most people don't know what it's like to be in that kind of a situation. I certainly don't.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, he went to us with us to Australia.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, like I said.
So he was one of them that was upset about that.
Yeah. And if you know Sergeant Green, like, super professional dude, but like,
yeah. Well, he was like, I mean, that dude was like, he was a gunfighter. That dude was a real gunfighter, apparently. Was he in your peer group or the peer group before you?
I think he would have been my senior.
Okay.
So
yeah, he was there. Like, he was just about to leave when we first got there in 2014, and then I think he left shortly after we checked in, and I never saw him again after that. I don't know where he went, but I hope he's doing well wherever he's at. I'm sure he is.
Oh yeah,
he's a G, straight G. Going to Australia is a frustrating experience if you're deploying there as a whole unit. If you're going there as like an individual augment, it's probably easier because you just clean your stuff and it's like you're good to go. But if you're like with a battalion in Okinawa and you're gonna go there,
I couldn't. So this is one of the things like Fox got to be kind of like special a couple times. So I feel kind of lucky to have been with them. We were the first company to do the MRF-D rotation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we didn't have the battalion. So we got to like hang out. It was a really good time.
This is your second deployment?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And
so 2012 probably.
Yeah. Not the time frame.
Yeah.
And Australian military has a vastly different standard of living than we do.
Yes, they do.
Like it's crazy, like night and day. It's like the only time you'll ever have like we were there. They're like, here's our temporary building. They were like individual rooms, right? So like you still had like a kind of a communal shower and stuff, but you had like actual like individual rooms to yourself.
Really? Like you guys as a company did?
Yeah.
They had that much space for you.
Yeah. And you don't have your gear in your room either. All your gear is like in the company office.
Really?
Yeah, because the way I mean, I wish things were set up more like that, but the way their stuff's set up is like you go to like their company area and it's like their company motor pool, like their company office, and then like they have like showers and all that stuff. So like when you get back from the field, like you can go to your showers and you can go to like your little squads or fire teams like cage and like throw your gear in there.
Okay.
And like do your shower, get cleaned up and all that stuff, and then like none of that stuff's like left in your room.
Okay.
So
it's a little different, whereas like,
and the armory is right there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the best part is too, is when they hand things out of their armory, it's not like through the little window. They just like roll up the door and just like you can just, everything, just throw it out.
Yeah.
So
that's funny. So it's not like a pain in the ass.
Yeah. It's so much quicker and stuff. Yeah. And then every company has their company boozer. Right. So
what's a boozer?
Basically like their company bar, because
they have a company bar.
Yeah, so every Thursday for like the 3 months we were there, like you go do normal training, and then because you got to like hang out with the Australians and build
camaraderie and all that.
Yeah, build relations and things. And so every Thursday, like the first half of the day is like sports, so you just like play like rugby or like Australian football.
Yeah.
Or, like whatever, right? So you just go do that, and then like you do that till noon, and then like you basically go to the company bar, and then people would have drinks. And then as you can imagine, nothing's getting done on Friday.
Okay, yeah. Nothing's getting done on Friday, okay.
So, but I mean, obviously if we were going out to the field, if we went to Kangaroo Flats, which is not flat, or Mount Bundy, which is not a mountain.
Really?
Yeah. We go to do the training out there.
It's deceptive names.
Yes. They are.
Kangaroo Flats is mountainous?
It's not flat. I wouldn't say it's mountainous, but it is like
hilly,
ankle breaking, like just terrain everywhere. Like you just run and it's just all like big loose rock.
It's like dirt, like more dirt. Does it remind you of PTA in any way?
PTA, but more dirt.
But more dirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, less volcanic rock.
So well, yeah. I mean, they're just like almost like big river stones. Like you just take a step and it just shifts, and you're like, oh god.
Oh, you snap your damn ankle. Yeah. Jesus. And how long were you guys in Australia for?
About 3 months, because we also did LF Karat.
Okay, yeah.
So on top of that, and I forget exactly how long LF Karat is. So
yeah, so it's a short thing. It's kind of like a mini MEU, if I had to describe it to people, because most people don't know what LF Karat is. But I mean, you guys probably went to like the Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, or something like that.
Yeah, Indonesia, Malaysia, few other places, but. Yeah, but that was also back to when like you go to Thailand and like I don't think they can do this anymore, but back then when they'd like be like, oh, this is how to kill a chicken, and they just like snap its head off, and then cut the head off the snake, and then everybody like gets a big old shot of like cobra blood.
Oh yeah.
So
that's why people used to call it Cobra Gold when they would go out there to just do that stuff for that event. I don't know if they do that anymore or not. I never went.
During that time, like a lot of people didn't necessarily. I mean, we had like phones and cameras and stuff, but people didn't necessarily take pictures of stuff all the time, right?
Yeah.
But then
somebody posted to Facebook and somebody called their congressman.
Yeah, I mean that's happened a few times. I mean, that's one of the things I could say like in the time I was in, like is like if I had to sum up a lot of it, was like a time of change, right? I mean, like in for some of the people that were in when it was like, hey, we're just going to combat. We're just going to war.
Yeah.
And for some of the people who are in just only in peacetime, like don't really appreciate how crazy of a change it was, and especially in the time period I was in too, because I was in when like don't ask, don't tell, like stopped being a thing.
Yeah.
Which
That was what year was that? 2012?
I don't remember.
13? Yeah,
Like
I can't remember.
It's long enough. I don't remember the exact year, but
Yeah,
but
during Obama
yeah.
at some point.
But I remember like a ton of people who weren't in the military made a huge deal out of it. But it was like for us, it was just like, hey, Padilla, now we can make fun of you and you can't get in trouble, right?
That's probably very similar to most places.
Or we had one dude in Motor T, and I mean like people knew, but you just like I said, you just beforehand
you just didn't say anything
right?
about
but,
it.
You know, it always joke with McCarthy and be like, oh, I hope you go home and clap cheeks, right? But I mean, for people who haven't been in the infantry, like they don't understand. It's like it literally is sometimes like the most like latent homosexual thing you could do sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
there's a lot of tendencies that people develop there.
Yeah, and you just get very comfortable with each other.
Yes.
In a way that you wouldn't with like anybody else, right?
Well, you spend more time around each other than you probably spent with your own damn family, and you're showering together, and you're sleeping in the same area, and like you're dealing with horrific stuff.
Yeah, or there's just times where it's just like. Because Marines are Marines, dude. Like they'll have some weird stuff growing in somewhere, and they'll be like, "Hey, man, do you think this is a problem?" You're just
I should tell
God.
Doc?
I didn't want to see that, but yeah, I think you should talk to the corpsman.
Yeah, I think you should go to medical.
Or other times too, like when I went to infantry squad leaders course. It was one of the last infantry squad leaders course in Hawaii. I remember me and like tennis are in a fighting hole, and there's not a lot of space in a fighting hole.
Oh,
right?
You in tennis?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we're like in a fighting hole, and it's just like you just have so much prickly heat, and you're getting CS gassed so much when you're in that course. It's unreal.
Yeah. I talked to tennis, I think, within the past year, actually. He's doing okay.
Yeah. And I just remember we're like, you're in a fighting hole because you got to keep a low profile, right? But like I said, anybody that's been in a fighting hole knows that there's no space in there. So imagine like two dudes that are like nearly naked, like scraping each other's backs. At the back of your legs and stuff with like credit cards because there's just so much prickly heat, like you can barely wear your equipment, right? So I mean, you get comfortable with each other in a way that like you really you wouldn't anywhere else, right? So like I said, when Don't Ask, Don't Tell stopped, I mean, a lot of people, like I said, from memory, it seems like a lot of people outside the military were like super concerned about it, but honestly, like for us, it was just kind of like, well, now I can make fun of you and like. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. And nobody's like going to get in trouble or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a lot of that change. And then, I think it was symptomatic of just kind of the regiment we're in because, 3rd Marines kind of, it's not like the other Marine Corps bases where there's extra units. You only have the one regiment with the 3 battalions.
Yeah. Or at the time. Yeah.
And, at the time before everybody went away and became 3rd Littoral Combat Regiment.
Yeah.
And because of that, like when the surge happened and they started deploying, we were the most deployed regiment from the surge to when they stopped sending us. And so
3rd Marine Division was the most deployed, or 3rd Marine Regiment deployed more than every other regiment in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And they got ragged on the most for being Hawaii Marines.
Oh,
probably.
yeah. I mean, still, even towards the end of my, like it would, I'll talk about that later when I went to mortar leaders because I always thought that was funny. People would be like, "Oh, you're a Hawaii Marine, you must suck."
Yeah,
and it's like, bro, it's your 3rd time here,
bro. It's your 3rd time here.
You've been dropped from this course 2 other times, and you literally are like right up the road. Like you shoot on these ranges all the time. Like we don't like in Hawaii, you don't get that opportunity. Like you get one chance.
Yeah,
like. You don't get to go to school and then fail multiple times and then like just get sent right back and do it again.
Because it costs the government a lot of money and they're not going to pay you for flying out to go to a course if they don't think you're going to pass.
Yeah. But anyway, so like during the time that like everybody was shipping off and stuff, I mean, like it was very hectic schedule. That was also when mortar leaders was like super long. That was before they like condensed it down.
Yeah.
It's like you wouldn't see half the people that were like actually in charge of you. They just like randomly show up one day and it's like, okay, we're going to ITX and then you're going to like ship out, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have not seen them the entire workup. The workup was pretty short too. It was only like 9 months for me.
Oh, wow.
Instead of like for most other people at the time, it was around like 13 or so.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have corporals.
Yeah.
You didn't have sergeants for the most part. You had like PFC team leaders and stuff. Like when I first got there, it was also
in 2010 or
Yeah.
Yeah, 2010 there was PFC team leaders?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Why do you think that was?
Well, because that was also a time when like hazing was pretty rampant.
Oh, was it really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was so bad that like this didn't happen in our company, but when we got back, like mind you, we were with 9th Marines at the time,
Yeah.
so we didn't know this happened. But one dude had gotten messed with so much that he basically went on post and then committed suicide. And
wow.
Yeah, so Lance Corporal Lou ended up being a really big deal.
Wasn't he like a U.S. representative's kid or something like that? I heard a U.S. representative's kid did that because they were being, I guess, quote unquote, bullied or hazed or whatever you want to call it, and like they made a really big deal of that, obviously, as you might imagine.
Well, I mean, it was a different time, like,
yeah.
And the thing is like, not trying to justify it, but like when you get there and you're like brand new and stuff, like I was older than a lot of my seniors, right? But like you didn't always know that.
Yeah.
Because like you get there and like these dudes are like, oh, we've been to combat, and they're kind of like larger than life, like heroes in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Maybe heroes not the right term, but they're like these larger than life people. They're like, they don't sleep, they drink all the time, like they're just like these crazy people running around.
Yeah.
And they do the craziest of things, right? I mean, and when you're younger, you don't always appreciate that. Like a lot of those dudes were just like, they're like kids, man.
Yeah.
They're literally, you know, like, yeah, they went and did their thing for 6 months and they come back, but I mean, they're still like a 19-year-old kid. Like, cause I remember one of them, like in one situation where I was getting messed with and they're like, you're going to go buy me some beer. And I'm like, and I remember just be like, why can't you buy it yourself? And it's like, I'm not old enough. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
And
you're like, yeah, I'm not buying you beer.
and,
a senior of yours that was like younger than you that was trying to tell you to buy him beer.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I'm not committing a crime for you. Sorry.
But I mean, they were just kind of it was a different group of people and you know, I think they were there for, a lot of those people were there for different reasons, right? And then...
Do you know where they had where your seniors had deployed to, like where they went?
I know some of them were up there by, I think it's Bujaba Pass. So, and they kind of had like a not so fun deployment.
Like
either.
there was a lot of kinetic activity?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's also a lot of KIA too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember that too, because they like one of their buddies, like Minsky, came. Which I mean, that guy went on to do some pretty crazy things in his own right, because he ended up, like, when the Hunger Games was being a thing, like, he was on the posters, like, his big, beautiful tattooed self with his missing one leg and stuff, like, nearly, like, you know, like, the dude was, like, built like a model.
So he was in the Hunger Games posters?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Minsky.
Minsky?
So, but
I'm going to have to look that up now.
But they, like, had him come out and, like, visit us beforehand and stuff, and you know, he's missing one of his legs from an IED and stuff. But I mean, like they had a pretty like bad deployment all around for all the different companies. But the companies had gotten shotguns, so that we had like guys that had originally been in Gulf and Echo too, and that's because hazing was going on. And that's also too one of the reasons why our deployment to Marshall was not so fun, because we were missing like nearly 20 people. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but like when you're half a platoon down, you know,
that can have
like
an
numbers
impact.
wise, like that affects like schedules and like the amount of sleep you get and things like that, and how much you can cover. And then we came back, and then like I said, you know, that was a big transition time, because then you go to, you know, we're getting ready to go again, right? I mean, as far as we knew, like when we got our new guys and stuff, like we're going back to Afghanistan, and then like halfway through, it's like, oh, you're not going anymore. You're going to go to Australia. And that was hard, because like you couldn't, like, training, like motivating people to train, like while you're doing these things that aren't fun all the time. Like you couldn't just be like, if you don't do this, you're going to kill people. Right.
Yeah.
Because that's, I mean, I'm not saying that like my seniors were like could just fall back on this very lazy thing, but I mean, they could just use that because it was like true. I mean, there's, you know, dudes that, you know, I went to SOI with, and there's dudes I went to boot camp with that, like, you know, they ended up going to Sagan and not coming back. I mean, so like that's reality. So it's very easy to just be like, you need to take this seriously, because like this is, you know, literally a matter of life or death. A little bit harder to motivate people sometimes when like they know they're not gonna go do that. So it's like when you got to run the range for like the third time that day, and it's just like, why are we doing this, right? We already did it, you know? And so like that was a big change. But the other thing is though too is because the schedule wasn't so hectic. I really do believe that like the junior guys that came after were much like better trained, just in
Hmm.
general. It wasn't only just focused on that one thing, because like the medals had changed a little bit, right? So your mission essential task list,
Yeah.
and so you had to do different things like humanitarian operations and MUTSWA and things like that.
It's more a diverse mission.
Yeah, well, that and because the workup was a little bit longer too, people had like time to like go to school and then come back. It wasn't just like, oh, you're at school this entire time, you're coming back right before. So you actually have time to like be with your people and train.
And you know what's crazy is like the Hawaii rotation times were faster than every other unit in the Marine Corps too. Like our workups were 12 months. Most people's workups were 18.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I also thought was like admirable about 3rd Marine Division is like not only do you have less training areas to use, you have less time to find training areas to use, and the expectation is higher and the rotation rate's more. Like, and a lot of people didn't understand that, I don't think, from a lot of the other units. A lot of people didn't realize that the rotations were every 12 months, you know, because all they'd been doing is every 18 months you deploy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's why like one of our regimental sergeant majors, when right before he came, went to get out and stuff. And I mean, even good old Gunner Summers, my favorite gunner in the Marine Corps. I love that guy. He, sometimes he'd be like, like, dang, dude, like you've done 5 deployments in 8 years. Like I remember one of the sergeant majors, like I've been in for 23 years and only done 8. Like that's crazy to do that many like in a row in that short a time.
Yeah.
And I still went to every school that I was supposed to. I still did all my little corporal's course stuff and sergeant's course, and I did my advanced mortarman course, and I went to infantry squad leaders course, and all these other things too, right? So,
on top of the deployments. Yeah. And trying to have a family at the same time.
Oh, yeah. So
that's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, and my wife also being in the military, in the Army.
Yeah.
So like those, super, super hectic, right? But like I said, towards the end, when things were a little bit longer and stuff, but you also got like a super, like, pretty different group of people too. Like, I mean, at least in my opinion, you got more people who like really like wanted to be there. Like some people sign up because they wanted to do certain things in the Marine Corps. But towards the end of my time, when you got guys that are joining that they know that nothing's probably going to happen, it's like just a different group of people. Like those people like want to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some people that, imagine like, oh, something might happen. But, like some of the most like, there's like one person in snipers I can think of right now. Like some of the conversations like this is just the most like insanely motivated human being I've ever met in my entire life. And while I didn't always get along with that individual, like I can like respect that, like, because it's not like, oh, I want to go to war and do, cool guy things, right? Like I just want to be a Marine, and that's a different group of people. And like I said, it was just a really a huge change going from just, if you don't do this, everybody's going to die, and, just yelling and screaming, to being like, okay, like I have to spend a little bit more time to explain to you like why this is important. And also things that are new. Cause like I said, when I did my first workup, like we didn't do humanitarian things or any of that stuff. So like some of that stuff's new. And that's one of the things too. I think sometimes, especially the newer guys, they forget is like, for a lot of people, even though they might have rank, it's their first time doing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you don't always go to like Mountain Warfare Training Center every workup. You don't always.
Yeah, I never went to Mountain Warfare Training Center. The whole time I was in Hawaii, we never went to Bridgeport until the year I left. Yeah. They went to Bridgeport the year that I was leaving. Like, I think the month that I left in May was when they were going to Bridgeport. And that was the first time that they'd gone to Bridgeport since 2012. So it's like it got skipped a bunch of years, and we went to Yuma instead, and we went to ITX, and we did Lava Viper, or we did whatever they call Bougainville 1, Bougainville 2, and stuff like that before they changed or stopped doing it. I don't know if they're still calling it that now, but yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes you don't go, and you just don't have the experience, and you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, sometimes you just show up, and it's like, and one of my good buddies, he spent a lot of time up there in Bridgeport, and he's got horror stories, right? Because
I bet.
Because Mountain Warfare training is
put some hair on your chest.
Probably one of the tougher forms of training you can go do, and but it's also too where the Marine Corps and for those that've been around, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's where kind of the Marine Corps stands in way of itself of getting things done. Where You know, because like you will do things a certain way and wear your uniform a certain way, and you will not wear a beanie when the sun's up. But then you go up to Bridgeport and like a lot of that changes
Yeah.
because like the mountain is very, very unforgiving.
Yeah. Dude, my seniors used to tell us horror stories of their experiences in Bridgeport because their seniors made them do so much terrible stuff when they were there. Like, hey, if you're the junior guy, you're dragging the sled with all of the crap on it and the whole platoon's bucket with all of their piss and like poop in it.
Yeah.
And you're dragging that with you.
I'll be honest with you, I love Bridgeport. Yeah. And like I said, I won't name names, but my buddy that was up there, this is probably one of the cooler experiences that I've had since I've been out, is because he goes and skis all the time. And so when he went to go get married, like we went up there, and there's a very small group of people because you can't take normal people to do this, but we went up to kind of the northern part of California and basically went out there and like skied up a mountain and dug out a snow cave and slept in it. And, you know, they got married, and then like we had
in the snow cave.
Yes. And then,
wow.
And then on the way back, the way back, it was like the worst snowstorm ever, like just complete whiteout conditions.
Oh, wow.
And mind you, like I don't do that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit older, right? And a little bit out of shape. It's going up was okay-ish, but going back down with like about 80 pounds of equipment when you don't do that all the time.
Yeah.
When it was in those types of conditions. And I mean, like, we're talking, it was such whiteout conditions you couldn't see probably further than like maybe 10, 15 feet.
No kidding.
And like people would just disappear.
How many people were with you again? You said
there's only like the 5 of us, but
5 of you.
But the other 3 went down because they went quicker, right? And then so it was just me and my buddy on the way down.
You ended up finding your way down, obviously. Like
yeah, because you can't just like ski down the mountain with like all that equipment. Not like that's how you hit a tree at like 50 mile an hour and die.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
so it's a lot of like, you know, you track back and forth and then be like, okay, well, that's really steep. I really don't want to like sidestep down that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's going to put a lot of stress on my ankles. And so you'll backtrack a little bit and be like, okay, I like this kind of trail approach. And mind you, like I said, it's nearly complete whiteout conditions. So you can't see super far ahead. And so it took us a little time to get back. And when we got back, it was funny because the day before it's like completely packed, right? It's with people that were just kind of out there in kind of the flatter areas, and they, you know, people are out there in snowmobiles and kind of like skiing and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" Because they just see us with these huge backpacks and all of our equipment. And we're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do backcountry skiing." And they're like, "Okay, that's cool." And when we got back, there was nobody. It was just literally me and my buddy, and it was just, other than the wind, like the most silent thing you've ever heard. And like I really enjoyed kind of like doing that type of stuff and being out there on the mountain stuff. That was super enjoyable. I really enjoyed being up in Bridgeport. A lot of people don't because it's cold and miserable. And
there were guys that literally threw themselves down staircases and like asked their buddies to break their legs with baseball bats so that they could get like put on light duty or limited duty and not go. That's what I heard stories of back when like my seniors were telling us stories about their peers that were trying to do that and stuff. Obviously I never experienced Bridgeport, so I don't know what it's like.
Some of the toughest people, you know, will completely just like go internal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a freezing cold environment. You're burning crap tons of calories every day. You don't really have a lot of time to eat because like you have to move to your next location. You have things to do. You're moving for very long distances. Your feet get all jacked up if you're not taking care of your feet. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to understand like shedding layers during movements and stuff like that, and how to put layers back on when you get there, how to keep your feet dry, staying warm when you're bedding down, standing post, doing all the, like, there's so much stuff involved in it.
And if you talk to some of the people that are up there too, they'll just tell you like some of it's like just self-inflicted pain because people will go up there and they'll be like, I know how to patrol. And you're like, it's different up here. It's different when you're on skis, and it's different when you got to move across the snow. Because up there, it's not just patrolling, it's about like mobility, like how do you get from one spot to another. And you know, my buddy, there's so many times I've called him and he's like, you wouldn't believe how long it took him to move like 800 meters, like hours, dude, like
hours
and
to move 800 meters.
And it's just because it's such a different environment, and like everybody, for a lot of times, everybody's new. There's like, unless you've been there and done it like the one time, and even just doing it the one time is not enough to be like good at it.
Yeah.
You just kind of have a general idea of like, okay, well, this is what's going to go on.
Yeah.
But I mean, it takes time to be good at your job. And if you're only doing it like once or twice, then that's not really enough. I mean, you get a taste of it. You get a taste of how miserable it is, but sometimes you get new first sergeants and you're like, man, why is this dude freaking out over this movement? And then you realize, oh, it's the first time he's been in charge of like this many people. And he knows that if like somebody's not there, it's like the end. It's the end of his career. He's not going to get yelled at. He's not going to, get a little NJP. It's like, because accountability is like huge once you get up to that level, right? And so it's like, it can literally be like a career-ending thing if somebody's like not where they're supposed to be and you don't have like a reason. For me, I've seen a lot of new platoon commanders and a lot of new, platoon sergeants and a lot of new staff like almost every year, right? And so it's like sometimes people forget like they're new. They don't know what's going on all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing about your position is you were able to kind of get a good experience, like a wide array of various types of individuals that are in staff positions. So you saw tons of different personalities, tons of different varying levels of experience, tons of different people with different backgrounds from different MOSs. So you had a pretty good perspective on like, okay, well, this guy, he's a gunny or he's a staff sergeant. This is what he did before. He's done these things. Okay, this guy's a second lieutenant or a first lieutenant. He's maybe never done this stuff before. Maybe he came from the line company. Maybe he was like used to being in a line company. This is his first time in weapons company or vice versa or whatever. Different perspectives and experiences are going to change like how people react to different situations, different environments and stuff like that. So you were telling me about a guy that you knew named Sergeant Major LaHue. Was he the regimental sergeant major when you got there?
Yeah.
At 3rd Marine Regiment at the time?
Yeah. He was he's probably one of the most motivated people, once again, that you'd ever meet.
Yeah.
So he was an AM tracker back when they had AAVs, because I know they just recently retired, I think the last one a few months ago.
Now they have ACVs instead. Yeah.
So Navy Cross recipient. Hope he wouldn't take offense to this, but if the first time you'd ever meet him, he's just kind of a short, kind of dopey white dude.
Yeah.
Doesn't really, doesn't come across as like this person that's done like some really, really crazy things in a time of, conflict. And then he's just a real dude. Like, and the funny part is though, is like when people think of like Gunny Highway or like that type of character or whatever, like this guy could be like that sometimes. Like, there's times where like when I was going through Infantry Squad Leaders course, like you would literally run by the regimental building at like 5 a.m. And this dude is out there back in the little McMap pit with the dummy, and he literally has a bayonet trainer, and he's just like going to town on this, right?
At 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Or sometimes he would just show up and he would be out there for morning PT, and he'd, like I said, he does not look like a person that can run.
He would just show up to your ISLIC PT?
Yeah, as we're like running down the road, and he would just randomly run up
just
and be like, "Hey, motivators," and then he would just like go on a run. And
hell yeah!
But he was really, really about Marines, really about taking care of them. I mean, this is like a funny thing, but I remember when he'd come down and this is when we used to have to wear Chucks.
Yeah.
Or Service Charlies.
Oh, on duty?
On duty. And he'd come down and he'd be like, does it make any sense to wear Service Charlies? Like, what if you gotta whoop some butt? Right? Then he was like, well, I'm gonna go fix that. And then all of a sudden, like, hey, you guys are gonna wear camis for duty.
Yeah.
Or one of his things that too, you had to log in the duty logbook, and he would check it. This was not like one of those random things. Like he would show up sometimes.
When was it that it changed from Chucks to camis? What year was that? You remember?
Oh, I don't remember.
Because when I first showed up, we were wearing Chucks too. Yeah. And I remember being on duty in Chucks, and I was like, what am I supposed to do if I have to like chase somebody in this? Like,
you're gonna get taken out by a friggin' shirt stay. Just snap.
Yeah, shirt stay's gonna snap you right in your nutsack, and you're gonna fall down, and you're not gonna be able to do anything.
No, he changed that. But one of the funny things is he made like a standing order. It was like if you're on duty, you would go to the chow hall and eat one meal.
Yeah, to test the food, make sure it's good.
Yeah, and
or fit for consumption.
And you had to log it in the logbook, and he would check that stuff. He would show up and be like, "I need to go fix the chow hall," and he would just leave.
No kidding.
Yeah, he was really about that. He was also really big about making sure that we like honored prior fallen. So like one of the things that he did was like a big kind of like memorial run, and so because in the regimental building they got the little stand there, and it has all the dog tags.
Yeah.
From previous people that had been lost, and so like everybody,
like in all of 3rd Marine Regiment.
Yeah. So everybody on that run like wore a dog tag, and we ran around, and like dude's like, it was just a very straight shooting, motivating dude, and he was our guest speaker for ISLIC and stuff. Just real good dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Dude's been a guest speaker for a million things, to
I'm
be honest
sure.
with you. And he does some really cool stuff. He helps run an organization that now, because he's retired now, and has been for a while, but he runs an organization that goes out and they find and recover remains from, like, prior battles and stuff. So they find remains from battles that happened, like in Korea and Vietnam, or in World War II, and
He's out now, right?
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
he's retired.
figured.
So he does that, and they have a pretty good, like, recovery rate. So from the things that I've seen, he's talked about and posted and stuff. And then him, and I'll have to forgive me, I think it was Sergeant Major Kinzer. They walked basically from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. Just him.
Walked,
Yes, walked.
bro.
So
That's what, 5,000 miles or something crazy?
I don't know the exact number, but
It's a
pretty
long, yeah, it's a long way to
it's
go.
pretty far.
It's like it's like going from San Francisco all the way to like Wilmington, North Carolina or something.
Yeah, and they're not young people either.
Yeah.
So,
And they were doing that for not like a charity event.
yeah, just to kind of highlight things about veterans and some of the work that he does and stuff like that. And so, I mean, he's a huge advocate for veterans. And then, really one of his big things that he does is, like I said, they go out and recover, like, remains, people that were, like, missing in action, or, the body never came home. They go out and find these people, and
they've had a pretty good success rate, you
Yeah.
said. That's pretty cool. A lot of people, I mean, that's like closure for a lot of folks that may never have seen what happened to their uncle that went to Vietnam or Korea or whatever, you know. And that's tough because, like, most of the time, especially in today's day and age, like, if that happened, it would be all over the news. Like, if somebody didn't come home, like, if they didn't recover somebody's remains, that'd be like a national covered story. You know?
yeah. But I mean, you go to things like in World War II and stuff. I mean, dudes, like,
It happened.
yeah.
There's probably a lot of people that didn't come back.
Yes, a lot. Because in some aspects, it's just like, hey, like, there's just disease. Like, just have to take care of it. Have to dig a big hole and throw them all in there. Because if not, like, I just have this giant, festering mass that's gonna make everybody sick, right? And I mean, and might be slightly uncouth to talk about it in that way, but I mean that was kind of just the reality. And I mean, just anybody who's really read any history of even things like World War I and stuff like that, where, like, like, a lot of dudes didn't make it back. They died out there and they became a part of the earth, and nobody knows what happened.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, it is as far as, like, his organization and what he does, because it's not something you typically think of, and it's kind of, say, I don't know him super personally, but I've ran into him more than a few times when I was in and stuff, and
Right.
He's just the type of guy that like he lives to serve. Like, I mean, even though he's retired out of the Marine Corps and stuff, like, he's always going to find a way to, like, kind of give back, or try to make something right, right some wrong, or do something to take care of those that came before us. So
You know what I want to do real quick? I want to read off his citation. The reason why is because it'll probably give a little bit more context as to why he does these things, and, like, why a lot of people probably feel very similarly to the way that you feel about him, and why he does a lot to give back. I know that because he's a Navy Cross recipient.
Yeah.
And that's, that doesn't just accidentally happen. Like, multiple people had to be like, we need to give that man a Navy Cross. There's multiple people that witnessed what he did this day to do this thing. And he was a gunnery sergeant at the time. In 2003. Jesus, he was a gunnery sergeant in 2003. He was in 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines. So 1-2. Task Force Tarawa, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force. March 23rd and 24th of 2003. All right, so this citation goes, the President of the United States of America takes pleasure in presenting the Navy Cross to Gunnery Sergeant Justin D. LeHue, United States Marine Corps, for extraordinary heroism as Amphibious Assault Platoon Sergeant, Company A, 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines, Task Force Tarawa, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom on 23 and 24 March 2003. As Regimental Combat Team 2 attacked north towards Al-Naziriyah, Iraq, lead elements of the battalion came under heavy enemy fire. When the beleaguered United States Army 507th Maintenance Company convoy was spotted in the distance, Gunnery Sergeant LeHue and his crew were dispatched to rescue the soldiers. Under constant enemy fire, he led the rescue team to the soldiers. With total disregard for his own welfare, he assisted the evacuation effort of 4 soldiers, 2 of whom were critically wounded. While still receiving enemy fire, he climbed back into his vehicle and immediately began suppressing enemy infantry. During the subsequent company attack on the eastern bridge over the Euphrates River, Gunnery Sergeant LeHue continuously exposed himself to withering enemy fire during the 3-hour urban firefight. His courageous battlefield presence inspired his Marines to fight a determined foe and allowed him to position his platoon's heavy machine guns to repel numerous waves of attackers. In the midst of the battle, an amphibious assault vehicle was destroyed, killing or wounding all of its occupants. Gunnery Sergeant LeHue immediately moved to recover the 9 Marines. He exposed himself to a barrage of fire as he worked for nearly an hour recovering casualties from the wreckage. By his outstanding display of decisive leadership, unlimited courage in the face of enemy heavy fire, and utmost devotion to duty, Gunnery Sergeant LeHue reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That dude was like running back and forth under withering enemy fire, recovering the remains of 9 Marines that were either killed or mortally wounded inside of an AAV that probably hit an IED, I would imagine.
No, well, that was from like enemy fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was a recoilless rifle or RPG fire or something, who knows? But that's yeah. A lot of folks like think about like, what does it take to do something like that? What kind of a person do you have to be to willingly be like, I'm completely disregarding my own life and my own safety to do something for other people? It takes a specific kind of person, a special kind of guy, or gal, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, I mean, at least in my time in, I mean, granted, you know, that group of people is slowly kind of filtering out, right? But
yeah.
Like at one point in time in Fox Company, like I said, we had, 3 dudes that had Bronze Stars with, V's, right, for valor. So, I mean, there's people that did crazy things and they were just like pretty normal dudes for the most part. I mean, like they weren't what you would think of like the G.I. Joe package, right? They weren't some like super jut and chin, huge dude that you'd imagine. They were just like kind of everyday average dudes that, were some pretty incredible, situations and just did what they had to, right? But like he's one of the people that always kind of like stands out, just especially for higher leadership, because usually like sergeant major, I mean even just like heck, it can be your first sergeant, right? Like comes around, like no one really wants first sergeant to come around.
Yeah.
But like sergeant major, he was like one of the few people that like like people were genuinely happy to like see the dude, because he's just a real dude. Like he just wasn't there to play dumb games or do anything. And like, yeah, I mean, he'd do anything else, any other sergeant major would do. I mean, he'd
tell you not to walk on the grass.
Yeah, he'd yell at you and scream at you if you were doing dumb things, right? But at the same time, he was there to just be like, "Come on, knuckleheads, like you can do it," like
cause knuckleheads. That's a good one.
Because he was just a motivator. I mean, there's other people I could mention stuff. I mean, there's just so many people, right? I mean,
yeah, there was a lot. I mean, who was the sergeant major of 3rd Marine Regiment in 2014? Do you remember? He's a terrifying looking dude.
Was it Collier?
No, it was a Mexican machine gunner. He's definitely Hispanic for sure. I can't remember if it was Sergeant Major Santiago.
Yes.
That dude was terrifying, bro. Terrifying. But apparently the dude was like an absolute savage in combat. Like he was pretty well decorated, and he did a lot of serious work in OIF 1, 2, and Enduring Freedom and stuff like that prior to. But we had some unbelievable people in 2, 3 when we first got there. I mean, we had, even like my first platoon, my section leaders were at the time Staff Sergeant Gross and Sergeant Volker, who eventually picked up Staff Sergeant. Gross is retired now. God bless him. He was a machine gunner, savage dude. He saw a lot of very intense stuff. And then Volker had most of his combat experiences in Afghanistan with 2-5, I want to say, in Sangin. I think it was Sangin. Also, like both of them were the most professional dudes ever, the most proficient dudes. They like would teach us classes all the time. Staff Sergeant, well, I'm gonna call him Gross. He would teach us how to write orders. He was like the honor graduate for infantry unit leaders course. So the dude was like a stud, like a stud. And then Volker, I think, was the honor grad. I think he was the honor grad for machine gun leaders, I want to say. But either way, the first exposure I had to him was like he was teaching his classes. He almost seemed like, a big brother to me. We were the same age, but he seemed like a big brother to me because like he was very experienced. He'd been in the Marine Corps for a significant period of time. He knew his stuff. He's very proficient in his job. We were very lucky that year, 2014. I'm sure before then too, we had a lot of really good leaders that we were fortunate to have. We had, Bill Coffey. Did you ever meet him? Machine gunner.
Yep.
I don't know if he's probably close to retiring now, but he was a great dude. Machine gunner as well. Like scary as hell, dude. Scary as hell. The dude's like sleeved out, bald head. I think he was a corporal when he first got to our unit, but he was in Gulf 2-7 in Afghanistan. Dude was such a savage, man. But like, also one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet too. Like he'd give you the shirt off his back. He had his fair share of his own like demons that he fought, but super proficient at his job. You could trust him to do just about anything.
I had a little bit different experience with coffee because
did you?
I wasn't new, so I didn't have to. We're like in the same.
Oh, it's different than
same peer group.
Yeah,
so I didn't have to be like, I could be like, hey, what's up, bro?
Oh yeah. You probably had a very different experience. Yeah. When I first met him, I was like, is this how every machine gunner is? Like bald, jacked, tattooed out dudes that were just like terrifying, But that's what I look for. That's what I want to see. Like if I see when I thought of a Marine machine gunner, I thought of like they all have very nice comb overs, and I don't know why they always had really nice comb overs, but they had a really nice comb over with some nice gel. They were very handsome looking gentlemen, and just absolutely jacked to the gills, and just like terrifying. Could bench 400 pounds, but also could run 18-minute miles, or 18-minute 3 miles. And that was just like what I thought when I was walking into. And of course, when we got there, we had some very large guys that were in CAT and in 81s, and because most of my seniors were machine guns, so they're all pretty big dudes. But I'm sure that they had another. I think when Randolph, do you remember Randolph? Mm-hmm. When he first got to the fleet, he said that everybody was absolutely the most scary thing ever, and I didn't want to see anybody. I think because his peer group or his seniors were your peer group.
Yeah.
So your peer group in CAT, he said, were absolutely terrifying. And so he's like, I got to them. He's like, weapons company looked like a bunch of mercenaries because they all had their own like flaks and their own kits and stuff like that from when they were allowed to do that. But he said like everybody was just like diesel, just jacked, massive, tattooed, like scary people,
Oh yeah. Well, that used to be what was kind of funny too, because like I'm not exactly short, but I didn't weigh a whole lot. Yeah. And most of the weapons guys, like literally, at least when I went through, and I hate telling SOA stories, but yeah, like when you go through it, like they literally be like, okay, well, these are all the smart ones that PT well. That's kind of how the split like works, right?
Yeah, they're like, what's your GT score?
Yeah.
Okay, here's your job.
And literally for machine guns, like you couldn't make this up at all, but they literally like take all the big ones.
All the big guys,
they literally get everybody like in a formation, and then they size everybody like you would if you were doing drill, and then they're just like, okay, the first like 30 or whatever, they just take, right?
Like you're going to be a machine gunner.
And then we didn't have assault men. All we had was 52s and mortarmen, so they took like all the short guys. They took like the small, because they're like, oh, you guys are going to go to vehicle, right?
Oh, wow.
So they took all the small guys, and then like the leftover guys went to like mortars. And so like, and this is like after I came back from my Afghan deployment, and we got a new platoon sergeant, and he was like, is he even going to make it on a hike? Literally, because I was like the smallest dude in the platoon. And like I said, I'm not huge by any means, but I'm not exactly like, I'm not a short person.
You're not Shimkus.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm not like 5'4", right?
Yeah.
And like, but most of the dudes in weapons were pretty like, both height and weight much larger than the average Marine, because that's generally kind of what filtered out. So I always thought that was kind of funny, because I remember my section leader was like, "Oh, he's fine, right?" But like,
he's fine.
But the dude's all just like, "Is he even gonna make it?" Like I almost felt kind of a little butthurt, right? Because it's like, dude, I've already like done half this stuff already. Like, yes, of course I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be fine. But yeah, and that's another thing. Is like, did you set a precedent that you like fall out of hikes and stuff? No, you probably didn't.
No.
You probably didn't fall out of any hikes.
He was just like, oh, this dude isn't 6'5" and 230. Like, how did we get this run?
How can I trust him to do anything? Like, no, that's funny. What's funny is I've seen big guys that fall out of hikes. I've seen small guys that fall out. I've seen people from all different body sizes and body types.
Yeah. Well, it's. obviously there's a physical component to it, but a lot of it's just mental.
Yeah, it really is. It's like a spiritual experience.
It can be. It can be.
And you really, yeah, it can be. And you just got to have some heart, you know? I feel like the people that had heart never really had any issues with it, you know? It's usually the people that just quit on themselves that have issues, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the most part, it's like, you just got to make 3 miles, and then you just do 3 miles repeatedly.
Yeah, you just repeat it, and you just do 3 miles repeatedly until you've done 30 miles.
So, like, yeah, hikes are terrible, but when I've tried out for sniper and docs, like, trust me, that little ruck run, buddy.
Much worse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this, I mean, it's...
I trust you.
It's worse because, like, you can take a break.
Oh.
If you want to.
But you can't afford to.
But you're not supposed to take a break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like because everything's a competition, right? So it's like you need to make time, like, and you can't talk to anybody. There's no, everybody's kind of, they split apart, right? So it's like, okay, that sucks because it's it's 13 miles.
That's a long way,
and you got to do it by yourself.
And you got to ruck 13 miles.
Yeah, ruck run.
Is that after swimming?
Yeah, that's after other fun festivities for the day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a lot on your feet, man, and your back and everything.
Yeah, and then you get to do where you're supposed to do the course after.
Dude, rucking 13 miles, that's a half marathon.
Yeah, and you're supposed to do.
Holy crap!
You're supposed to do it in less than 3 hours too.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Oh my God, that's tough.
Yeah, it is. But it's like mentally tough. Like you can do it. Like physically, most people could do it physically that try out and stuff, but it's just like, that's the purpose of the end doc though, is for the people who don't make it to the end, it's to get rid of the people who like don't want to be there. Right?
Yeah. Who have quit in them or just don't feel like putting it in.
But when you get to the end and, whoever gets picked and stuff, it's like they pick the ones that they think are going to fit best with them. Right.
Yeah.
So the luck of the draw, like you can be good and do well and perform well and stuff, but if they don't think you're a good fit, then you're just, you don't get selected for it, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing. That's the one thing that I think was pretty effective about the sniper platoon before, is that they could be highly selective of who came to the platoon and who was offered the opportunity to go to Scout Sniper Basic course. Now it's very different, of course, because they've got a pipeline school. I think that they actually send people through in ITB to go there, and I think they still have additional follow-on schools, I believe, but it's not the same thing as it used to be. From what people are telling me, obviously, I haven't been in the infantry for a few years at this point, so it's like I don't really know. I don't have an intimate understanding, but this is what people are telling me.
I would say it's probably the only other time that it, like hiking legitimately really sucked was in Korea, because we had to wear VB boots, which are like
the like Mickey Mouse shoes.
Yeah, they're like 10-pound bricks. Because they're vapor barrier boots and they're super heavily insulated. So, and they don't have like real foot support.
Yeah.
So your foot kind of swims around in there, and because it's completely waterproof, like your feet
get wet.
Yes, like you can pour water out of your boots.
Oh my God, bro! Your feet must have got super jacked up from those hikes.
Yeah, you kind of get used to it, but like we had to hike back on hardball, and they're not meant for you to like walk on like a hard road. It's meant for you to walk across the snow. Right.
Yeah.
And
why didn't they didn't let you like take them off and just walk on your regular boots on the hardball?
No, because it is in the wintertime in Korea and it gets like stupid cold.
It does get stupid cold in Korea.
Yeah. And we were walking back and there was one of those like, hey guys, I know we'd been out there doing like a 3-day war. So you're out there, like you're already tired and kind of broke off from moving around for the 3 days and constantly doing all that stuff, right? And like we're gonna hike all the way back. You get to a point and we're like, my feet are just already destroyed, and then like other people's feet are already destroyed. So like how that happens, it's like, well, I got to carry extra equipment because they're just not gonna make it if I make them carry stuff.
Oh God, I've seen so many pictures of people's feet all jacked up, and also just seen so many people's feet like in the middle of a hike, and they're like the whole bottom of their heel is just like a floppy piece of jellyfish skin, and you're like, bro, why didn't you put foot powder on your feet or something, bro? Like
we get to a certain point and like you take your normal break after 3 miles or whatever. And then we get to a certain point and they're like, oh yeah, well, we normally would take a break, but there's no place because it's a whole company. Right. And we're like alongside of like a road that it's pretty heavy traffic.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, we're just going to have to do like the last 7 miles straight through. Like, dude, I walked like Johnny Knoxville.
Oh no, dude! Like you've been riding a horse or something like that.
No, I mean like literally like Johnny Knoxville after he got destroyed in a stunt. Like I walked like a crippled man for like a good 4 days after that because like it's like, oh, well, it doesn't sound that bad because you're like, oh, it's only like an extra 4 miles, but like I could literally feel like the blisters building.
Oh man, yeah.
And the pressure, and then it's like they deflate because they like pop.
Yeah, they pop and they leaked all out into your socks.
And you're just like, and just the absolute insane pain of just your feet. Like, I mean, like just your boots pounding almost against, and it's just like, bro, everything in your body's just like, give up.
Yeah,
just give up. Like
you want to quit, but you have to keep. You can't stop. You got to keep going. I think the worst hike that I ever did was was when we did that one hike right before Christmas when Lieutenant Colonel Coyne was the battalion commander in 2014. It was in December, and we were doing we had crew serve weapons. So I carried the 50 cal receiver for probably 18 of the 20 miles. Like I probably carried the tripod for a mile or two, but I definitely carried the 50 cal receiver for damn near the whole thing, because I remember like just like keeping it for the whole time. I was like, man, everybody's broke off. If I don't carry this thing, like somebody else is gonna have to carry it. So I'll keep it, and that way it's one less thing people have to worry about. Oh, yeah. And dude, we got done with that because we were supposed to do like a 20K. It was supposed to be a 20K. It ended up being closer to like a 30K by the time we finished. And then they're like, all right, good job. Now you guys can go home and see your families for Christmas. And everyone's walking through the airport like we got zombie feet. And it's like, what did they do to you in the Marine Corps? Do they abuse you? Like,
yes, they do.
Yes, in fact, they do. It's like, bro, my feet have never been that messed. I had literal zombie feet. Like I couldn't walk on the heels. I was walking around on my tippy toes, dude.
Oh yeah.
But that was the worst one. After that, everything else was relatively accomplishable, is achievable, wasn't super bad. That was like, there was some serious mental fortitude built from that movement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but it's also Lieutenant Colonel Coyne.
Yeah. And he was just like, dude, his back was like the size of a freaking door frame. The guy was like, I can't remember if he was recon at one point or what, but like the dude was a savage.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, that's the other thing is too, like I would tell people who are section leaders, especially for weapons, like you need to spend more time talking to your battalion commander, like when it's appropriate, because you would be surprised how much they actually know. Like,
well, they've got, I mean, usually a battalion commander's got close to 20 years or more.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you'd be, and I mean, some people would be like, no, duh, they're obviously in charge for a reason. But I mean, it's like, you would be surprised, like, how much more in tune with things they are than you really think, right? I mean, it's because it's easy to think like, oh, the company commander just sits in the office all day. Battalion commander sits in the office all day. But I mean, there was a time with Lieutenant Colonel Conway
which is before us,
when he came out, and like he just came out because everybody wants to go see mortar shoot. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's 60s or 81s. Like if you're going to go be a mortarman, just get used to like important people showing up.
Yeah, because they want to see you dropping rounds.
And I'm talking like 2-star generals will just randomly show up to the range for no reason to be like, oh, hi, I'm, so-and-so from the air wing. And you're like, okay, cool. They're like, why are you on the range?
What are you doing? Yeah, what are you doing here?
And they just do, right? But I remember he came out there and he was just hanging out, and like legitimately, we had like a 40-minute conversation about like the finer details of digging fighting holes and like
the finer details.
Like, and how to like
you're like sipping a cup of tea, the finer details of digging fighting holes.
And having, like a real conversation, like, okay, well, if I was fighting, a Russian, mechanized battalion, or versus, something that was, equipped with BMPs, like, okay, I'm going to have like a completely different defense, and this is how we're going to set it up. And like, I had like a really in-depth conversation for like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Over that. And there's a lot of, like, I mean, they've been around for a while. There's a lot of good knowledge. And like, at the end of the day, like, squad leaders and section leaders are the main effort in the battalion. Like, they're the ones who make things happen, and
that's where the rubber meets the road, man.
If you don't have a good relationship, with your company commander or your platoon commander or your battalion commander, like, you're doing it wrong. And I don't mean like, Lord knows, and I mean you've known me for a while. I didn't always have the best relationship with some of the people in charge of me, but like, because I always had a little bit of a mouth and an opinion.
Yeah.
But like having that good professional working relationship, because like, at the end of the day, like, everybody's just trying to do their job. Sometimes personalities don't mesh together very well, but like, when it's time to do things, it's time to do things,
Yeah.
and it's time to do it to the best of your ability, right? But like, if you're not hanging out with those people and picking their brain and learning how things work and stuff, like you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. I
Like-
think that's probably a pretty accurate statement. I think like it's good to have a good professional working relationship with the folks in your battalion, even if they're not like in your platoon or something like that, because then they kind of get to know you a little bit more, and they're not going to, oftentimes they are very busy and they may not have time to like go to every platoon and get to know you at your spot where your platoon hangs out and trains and does white space or your company areas, you know, because they've got a million things going on and there's a million people that are like vying for their attention for meetings and all this other stuff and briefs and command update briefs and legal stuff and like just everything.
Well, I mean, even when you go out to the range too, though, like nobody that's in charge of anybody wants to go to the range and be like, "How's it going, guys?" And everybody's like, "Good, sir." And then they just stare at each other
Yeah.
weirdly, and then it's like, I guess I'll leave. Like,
Yeah.
you can talk about training. You can be like, "Oh, we're doing all these wonderful things." Like, I mean, they care. Like,
Yeah.
it's their battalion. It's
Yeah.
their company. They care about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, if something,
That's why they're there.
yeah, if something's messed up, like you can talk to them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I'm not telling anybody to like jump the chain of command or do anything dumb that way.
Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do that.
But like you can have a conversation and, you know, talk to people. Like
professionally.
trust me, like your company commander wants to know that like his squad leaders aren't like idiots.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to have like conversations about tactics or, hey, this is what we did and like, you know, we're trying to do this better or whatever, and like you might get some tips. Or and it's the same thing too, even with, you know, some of the senior enlisted. Like I used to go annoy our battalion gunner all the time, and Gunner Summers definitely had a love-hate relationship with me sometimes because we butted heads more than a few times. But I mean, I learned a ton from that dude.
Well, I think that like what you're saying is like if you're a corporal or a sergeant,
Yeah.
like you need to be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're a PFC, maybe don't talk to the battalion commander unless somebody's like telling you to report to him. Talk to your squad leader or whatever. But if you're a sergeant and a corporal, like I think you're right. The company commander would like to know that his sergeants and corporals understand tactics and have pretty sound, you know, technical expertise, and they know what they're doing and have an interest in their profession, you know, and talk. And the best way to show that you have interest is to talk to people about, you know, I think there's value in that for sure. You know, obviously, like you said, tactfully, professionally, you know. I think it's different. Like once you get up to like battalion level, I think oftentimes sergeants and people that are corporals and sergeants are probably like, I don't know if I should go talk to the battalion commander because I don't want the company commander to think like, but if he shows up and he's like talking to you, yes, obviously respond. You're a human being. You can talk to him. It's okay.
Yep.
Your company commander is not going to like NJP you for talking to the battalion commander about stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, it depends on personality. Like I said, I mean, most of the people I think
Yeah.
that were around me for more than 2 seconds knew that like if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you something. So I mean,
yeah, but they appreciated that because they knew that you weren't going to feed them bullshit.
So I mean, there's times where like Lieutenant Colonel Hoyle, he asked me one time like, "What do you think of our gear list?" And I'm like, you know,
like
I'm not going to
stupid.
tell. I'm not going to say what I actually said, but I'm like, that is the dumbest gear list I've seen. Right?
But he's willing to listen to people.
Yeah, I
though.
mean, but that's
he's a great officer. I think he's a great guy.
But that's the thing, though, is like at that point in time, I'd been around for a while, so
Yeah.
it's not like a brand new corporal. Like I'm kind of scared of people.
Yeah.
People that have been around for a long time, like you know, battalion commanders, and I mean even company commanders have not. It's not a short amount of time they've been around. Like
Yeah.
they want to like hear true things. They don't want you to like cuss them out or just you know moan and complain, right? But they do want to hear like the truth.
Yeah.
Right. And like they can't make things better if like they don't hear the truth. And
That's
you know,
facts.
and there's other things too, besides, you know, just like say like, oh, hey, we don't have this stuff, you know, or we need to improve training in this way. But also too, like if you're in the fires community, especially in mortars, like once again, if you're in 60s and you're not like talking to your company commander, like you are literally his organic fire support.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have an understanding of like what he wants and what he's thinking before he has to tell you, then like you're doing it wrong. It's the same thing with 81s. Like, you know, you're the battalion commander's organic fire support. Like if you don't have a good working relationship and it's just, you know, your only interaction with him is through the fire support coordination center, through your company commander, through him, like you're kind of doing it wrong. And that's the thing is like you have to be able to explain yourself because at some point in time, you're going to be the FDC chief, or you're going to be, you know, later on, if you are a section leader for like 81s, you're going to be sitting in the battalion, you know, fires rehearsal concept, and you're going to have to stand in front of a bunch of officers and not be, the proverbial dumb enlisted person,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you have to be able to explain what's going on and speak your piece and stuff. But really, I mean, I think that's one of the things looking back and stuff. I felt like against their will sometimes. I spent more time talking to them than they wanted, but
Against their will.
but
You trapped them. You
yeah,
trapped them in
well,
conversations.
but you really do need to spend time with like senior Marines because you'd be surprised like how many little things that they can filter down or just.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there's times I just go hang out and bug Gunner Summers because he's just in the office and he was just tired. Like, I mean, that dude taught me pretty much how to like set up an entire range from like scratch. Like, how do you do all the SDZs? How all that stuff works. That was one of the things when we went down to Australia. Like, they had to do that stuff, right? I mean, they didn't have ranges set up to the way that we do ranges, right? They had it set up to the way the Australian military does it. So I mean, it's like gives you good insight. Like, oh, this is why we do all these safety things on the range, right? And it all stems from these documents, and this is where you look this up, and this is how this works, right? Because the longer you're in, you got to learn how to like Marine Corps. It's not just enough to know your job.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's fair. I mean, like, and I think it's at the end of the day, it's a profession that's made up of people.
Yeah.
So like if you're not capable of discussing things or talking to people, especially when it comes to like tactics and weapons and STZs and training and all these different things, like you should be talking to people and communicating people, not only from the perspective of like, hey, here's what I'm thinking, but also, like you said, so that way you can understand what the commander's intent. Because like if you have questions, you should be asking them because everybody wants to like be like, okay, this is the bar they're setting. I want to meet that, because I want them to know they can depend on me and they can rely on me to operate disaggregated on our own without them being around, and that gives them extra confidence to send you out to go do stuff like solo and stuff like that. Like, for example, Cat 1, we went up to this Ranger base in northern South Korea that was like 4 hours away from Osan when the rest of the battalion was on Osan. And we drove up to this base by ourselves and did some machine gun ranges up there. Stayed on a Ranger base, like an Army Ranger base while we were there. And we kept professional. We picked up all of our brass. We cleaned up all of our trash. But they trusted us to go up there separate from the battalion to do that because they knew we were responsible because we'd built that rapport, mainly because our section leaders and our platoon sergeant and our lieutenant were talking to everybody. They were communicating to people, and they proved like, hey, look, we were responsible to do this. And they were hesitant. They weren't sure because it's like, hey, you're going to an Army facility, not only just Army, but Rangers, and you're going to be 4 hours away from the rest of the battalion. And if you guys do something stupid and make us look all jacked up, it's going to be a problem, right? And so we had to, we earned that credibility from just, repeatedly doing the right thing and proving that we were responsible enough to work in a disaggregated way. And then eventually they allowed us to do that. And funny enough, I was talking to Gunnar Agee about this last night. Turns out that he knew the brother of the CO that was at that Ranger base. And so he's, he like developed a pretty good rapport with them right out the gate. And they're like, hey, man, whatever you need, we got you. And we shot machine guns up there for a few days. And then we drove back to Osan without any issues other than Holmes. You remember Holmes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Holmes, bless his heart. Holmes, like, I think he like clipped a bongo truck with one of the Humvee side mirrors while we were driving at one point and just didn't bother to stop at all or do anything. Gunny back then was like, Holmes, what the hell are you doing? Oh, yeah. Like, he had some more choice words, but either way, yeah, I think again, communication's important.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like nobody wants yes men.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I agree.
Like, I mean, you especially with mortars, because like we're oftentimes out and about doing kind of our own thing. You're off just like,
yeah, you're off. You're OFP as well.
They'll be like, okay, the company's going here, and you're doing your own thing over there, right? Like, you got to be able to trust that people can like think and make sound judgments, right? When they're off by themselves and nobody's watching. So, and it takes time to develop that. And the unfortunate thing is just with the progression of, weapon systems and current events, even though I would argue that some of the things that are being used now are not so current.
Yeah.
Things are only going to get more lethal, and that's going to require more dispersed operations, and that's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
because you still, mass is still one of the 7 principles of war. You still have to get everybody together, right? But at the same time, you have to disperse everybody to prevent casualties, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, speaking of which, you have a completely different profession now than you did before.
mhm.
And I did want to talk to you a little bit about that to give people an idea of like, what kind of adventures has Charles Johnson been on since he got out of the Marine Corps? Because you've done quite a few things. I mean, you've been obviously in school
Yeah.
for an extended period of time.
Been involved with test engineering for most of the last 6 years. A little bit with a little bit of UAS design as well too.
Yeah.
And so as far as like testing, it's was involved with like specialty test. So it's like a lot of structural test, but they also do so structural test is like just breaking things.
Yeah.
So
testing how strong things are.
Yeah. So you have your design, and then you break it, or you see how many times something can fatigue before it develops cracks, and then you do tests to see how cracks propagate and how far that can propagate before you need to do something about it.
Yeah. Very meticulous work.
Yeah. It's super expensive to do that type of work. Like you don't even bat an eye when it's like test fixtures are, in the hundreds of thousands to sometimes millions of dollars just for the test fixture. We're not even talking about, the components themselves.
Oh, Jesus.
And they can be very complicated tests. Some of those, depending on what you're testing, especially if it's environmental testing, some of those tests can be months and months and months and months long. Because, for thermal or, vibration testing and things like that. And I got to see quite a few interesting projects that I can't go into great detail exactly what those are.
And where did you, so are you still finishing your degree?
No, I'm done.
So you're done with your degree.
Yeah.
And what was your degree in?
Mechanical engineering.
And how many years did that take?
A little less than 5.
And I remember just like hearing some stories you would tell me about the mind-numbing mathematics classes that you had to take that were just like
yeah, I mean there's quite a bit of math because
physics too.
Well, yeah, I mean physics is math as well, but
yeah.
It's because engineering deals in numbers, right? I mean you have to have results, you have to have quantifiable things. It can't be like, oh, I think it's gonna be okay. Like you have to know.
Yeah.
Especially in like when we go to test things, I mean, we have some of those machines are capable of producing 1 million pounds of force.
1 million.
Yes. So there's
Jesus.
literally for the load cells that we use to measure that force, there's literally only like one place in the entire U.S. that can do that, and they look like giant 45-pound plates, but they're not. They're like 50,000-pound pieces of steel, and it's like the size of a room that goes in a shaft that's like 30 feet deep.
That sounds so like
it's one of those things you can look up on your own, like the 1 million pound dead weight test set, and it's like just to give you an idea of like how much 1 million pounds actually is. It's huge, right?
So we have equipment that can simulate what 1 million pounds of pressure is on something.
1 million pounds of force, yes.
Of force, yeah. That's crazy. And that's all done with using electricity?
Hydraulics.
Hydraulics?
Yeah. So you have like giant hydraulic pumps that are like, the size of this room.
That's so crazy.
They're pumping 90 gallons of hydraulic fluid per minute.
Wow.
3,000 PSI or so.
Yeah, because the only reason I feel safer on planes is because of like you explaining certain things about some of these like aviation tests that are required on the proprietary bolts and nuts and fixtures on aircraft specifically that have to undergo like crazy tests.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is one of my pet peeves. So, because I hear people all the time and they throw the term like mil grade, military grade around, and I will tell you that doesn't mean anything. That's just a marketing term that somebody picked up. But I will also tell you that like mil spec means something.
Mil spec means something,
yes.
But not mil grade.
No. That's a totally meaningless term. But military specification is like an actual standard. Like you can go look these up. They cover literally everything from like how the part number needs to be for the part to like how you need to test the rubber, exactly what materials, exactly what surface finishes. And it's a way for like if I go to order like a hose, for example, it's a way for me to send that to any manufacturer and be like, you need to make it per this mil spec. And they can look that standard up and it'll have, if it's if it's a hose with a couple fittings on it, it'll tell you because there'll be specs for each fitting in the hose, and if it's this pressure, it needs to be this type of rubber with this type of like steel cable braid inside, and
Yeah.
very meticulous to even like when you order it, like this is how it needs to be.
There's like a thick book.
Yeah.
Like a manual that tells you the specifications for it.
Not really a manual. There's like giant, repositories.
Yeah.
Because some mil specs also reference SAE spec, which is the Society for Automotive Engineering specs. So like things that you get on your car are built to those specs.
Okay.
But it just depends on what it is, because and this is the thing, like I said, it's my pet peeve, because a lot of times people will be like, it's built by the cheapest bidder with the biggest piece of crap ever, and it's like, well, it depends on what you're really talking about, because a lot of times if you go look at mil spec, you'll find that mil spec is more restrictive than like SAE specs. So the thing that you go buy that you think is really good is oftentimes built to a lesser standard.
Like if you went to Advanced Auto Parts and bought a bolt from there instead of buying a bolt from,
or like a fitting, for example, like the surface finish will be like much rougher. The materials won't necessarily have to meet certain. I mean, even to like it's crazy. Just like little pieces of rubber will have 4 or 5 different tests that they have to go through.
Okay,
and that stuff gets tracked, right? So especially if you buy stuff that's like fracture critical, so it's like stuff that we look at through the lifetime of whatever the product is. If it develops cracks and things like that, you need to be able to go to like, okay, it's this bolt with this serial number. It was built in this lot on this day in this factory by these people using this material from. Because
Jesus, it's that detailed.
Yeah, you get reams of paperwork, and that's why like stuff for aircraft tends to be so expensive, because like you order bolts and it literally comes with like 100 pages of documentation and
per bolt.
Well,
or when you order
like
a batch of them,
the batch of them, right?
Okay.
And people had to do all kinds of like testing. They're not like grade 8 bolts that you get in Home Depot. Those are not like, they're not even remotely the same.
All right.
Same thing, right? And we still sometimes test that stuff, even though they give us that stuff. You still sometimes will test it because like you don't know, and that's for a program. A lot of times there'll be sequential things, but you'll have tons and tons of material testing beforehand, and as you progress through, obviously it'll be different types of tests. As like the thing that you're trying to get built becomes more and more complete, you'll have more more functional type tests or more integrated type tests and stuff. But there's an insane amount of detail that goes into it. I mean, even to the amount of arguing over just like whether something should be 25 microns or we're talking micro inches. We're not talking like 1,000th of an inch. We're talking micro inches, right?
Which is how big is a micro inch compared to a
millionth?
Yeah, so you're talking very minute changes.
Yeah,
like super minute.
Yeah, so that's 6 decimal places.
Jeez.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll have arguments because it's like because cost is a thing that always happens.
Yeah.
Right, and there's the golden rule. And don't let anybody ever tell you different. I don't care who they are or how much money they have. There's the golden rule that we call the iron triangle. And you get 3 options. You can build it fast, you can build it cheap, or you can build it good. You get to pick 2.
Why not 3?
Because it's just not
feasible?
It's just not feasible. Everything's a compromise. Right?
Okay.
So, like the faster you make things, the more like junk parts you end up with, right?
Okay.
So, because there's a failure rate for everything in manufacturing. You waste money there, right? Which ends up like not being cheap because now I got to make more to replace the ones that are junk, right?
Oh, yeah. So you kind of waste money doing that, honestly.
Yeah. So, like, you really do have to abide by that. Like, you can make it fast and it can be cheap, or you can make it fast and it'll be really good, but it's not going to be cheap. But it's it's in the triangle. You can be in the middle, but it'll never be like maybe as good or as fast as you kind of need it, right? So you spend tons and tons of time, and I mean, like, just things like surface coatings and stuff like that, lubricants, all that stuff can be huge issues. I mean, because I can't get into specifics, but I mean, I've had things that we've worked on where, like, the amount of people and the amount of hours spent kind of arguing over, like, whether or not we are supposed to use a certain lubricant or not is sometimes you're just like, wow, we spent, like, 2 weeks on this, having multiple discussions from people who make a lot of money, and their time's worth a lot of money just to be like, yeah, we don't need it, or yes, we do. But
Jeez.
you have to justify all that stuff. It's not it's not like working on your car. Like, oh yeah, I think it'll work. I mean, like every decision you make in that regard, like somebody's life's gonna depend on it at some point in time. So like it has to work, right?
Yeah.
Now, we'll say unfortunately, when we hand things off, I can't speak for how things are when they're 20 years old and been hung up wet many times, in maintenance and things like that. There's what's supposed to happen, and then there's what the fleet says is supposed to happen, and then there's how people actually do maintenance,
Yeah.
right? And
How
so
it actually happens.
and so you do have to kind of realize that sometimes too. But like, I will say in the time, especially in the place I've worked for, like everybody wants to give the warfighter like a good product. No one wakes up and they're like, how can we make this the most expensive
Yeah.
piece of junk there is, right?
They want to make it better, cheaper, more affordable.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, and one of the hardest things is like really it comes down to like requirements, right? Like if you have a hard time conveying what you actually want, just about anything can get built if you have enough money and time, right? But if you can't describe exactly what you want, then like you spend a lot of time messing around until something gets built, and then like halfway through, I mean, and this has happened, excuse me, with certain other projects and stuff, both in the shipping and ground combat vehicle, like the M10 Booker, for example, that ended up being like, just mission creep over time, right? Like make it do this, add more to this, and then ends up getting bigger, and you end up getting to a point where like they're about to ship those things off to like actually like, hey, we're buying them, like you guys are gonna get them, and then like they cancel it because people realize that like, oh hey, this thing is literally like twice as heavy as we wanted it to be, and it's not doing the thing we wanted it to do. And you would look at that and be like, wow, that's a colossal waste. But it's like it's really hard in the process to figure out exactly what you want and like convey that in a way that makes sense to the people who are designing your things, because most of the people who are defining requirements as a customer to these big engineering firms, like they don't know anything about engineering. Like they don't have a real idea of how that works.
Yeah.
They just know like, hey, like, I have some of these things and we have discussions and we have meetings and stuff, but like magic happens in the back.
Yeah.
Right?
Magic happens. Magicians are in the back.
And I'm oversimplifying it a little bit because obviously, anybody that's worked in that process for a while has a better understanding. But like the people on the other side aren't necessarily like, and I'm talking like high level planning. We're not talking about, because there is DoD engineering organizations that exist, like Novware and Spallware and things like that serve as a bridge. But when they're like, hey, we want a new tank and it needs to, weigh only this amount, it needs to have all these things, right? Like that can sound really good on paper to you because you're describing it from how you think about it. But then like when you try to break that down into like what that means from an engineering aspect, like a lot of things can get lost in translation. So, and it's really hard. For example, for ships, I mean, you have to think in the shipping world, like, okay, I want a new frigate. Okay, well, what does that mean? Like, how big is that going to be?
Yeah.
Like, how far do you need it to go? Where do you see it operating? Because the frigate that you would normally operate, like, only in the Pacific is going to be could be potentially a different design than something that operates in the Arctic because there's ice and there's much different consideration there, right? Or
how are you wanting this designed and stuff like that?
And where's it going to go? And you have to think like, okay, well, ships are a huge investment, as are like any.
It takes years to build them.
Yes, it takes years to build them, and you want it to be around for like 30 or 40 years, and sometimes it's even longer. And it's like, okay, well, what threats is this thing going to see in that time period? Where is it going to be operating in that time period? Yeah. How is it going to be supporting the rest of the fleet in the rest of that time period? Right?
It's a lot of considerations.
And we're not even getting to like what types of weapons should it have or how fast should it. I mean, you're just trying to be like, where is this thing going to be?
Yeah. Well, another thing to consider is what type of weapons will adversaries have at that time, 30 years from now. And
then you realize that, okay, well, I'm going to have to build like extra space, but you don't want extra space because as things become more complex, right? You add more weapon systems, you have to add more computers, you need more power, so you need a bigger power plant. So like you can quickly, like what sounds good on paper can quickly just turn into this huge monstrosity of a thing that's like twice the size of what you wanted it to be. And Because like sometimes it just comes down to like, hey man, like there just isn't space to put that thing. Oh, you want all this extra power? Well, now I got to fit in the case of an armored vehicle, like maybe I have to fit in another couple 100 pounds of batteries somewhere. So now it just gets bigger for no, like not necessarily no reason, but it just gets bigger just by sheer virtue of like, that's the best that we have that meets the standards that we can use. That's what you're getting. So it's getting bigger. Well, sorry, I can't do anything about it.
I wonder for ships, though, because, like, maybe we could set it up where it's like, hey, this nuclear reactor that we're going to have on this should power anything. We should be fine with anything at that point.
You would think. I mean, obviously, it's much more energy dense, and you can get more power out of a nuclear reactor for its footprint compared to, like, a gas turbine.
Yeah.
But you start to run into issues of just, like, only have one shipyard that's capable of doing that. And so do you have the space to do that? Are you willing to pause other projects to build the thing that you want? So like there's scheduling conflicts,
Yeah.
That's the part that's really hard. It's not just, I mean, I think sometimes people think like, oh, you can just go and just do these things. And sometimes it's just not having the supply chain. Right. I mean, that's been a thing for like some of the things I've gotten to go see, like the RS-25 engines, right? The space shuttle main engines. I've seen the facility where they manufacture those up there in Canoga Park.
Okay.
So
where they manufacture NASA's stuff or SpaceX?
NASA's.
NASA's?
So RS-25, they're the space shuttle main engine.
Okay.
So I've gotten to see that stuff, right?
That's pretty cool.
But they have a giant autoclave, right? And so
what's an autoclave?
Basically, it's just a giant furnace to basically melt some of the cooling channels together, right?
Oh wow!
And this thing's huge. I mean, it's like literally the size of a building. And but the thing is with that is like that thing was built 1 million years ago. If something breaks on that, like there isn't a place that makes parts for that anymore.
Yeah.
Like it could be done. You can go pay somebody, but it's going to cost a lot of money because they got to set up all their tooling and all this other stuff for things they don't normally do. And they got to take machines out of action to do the things that you want that they would normally use to build other things, right?
Yeah.
They're probably never going to build another one because we realistically are not going to build those types of engines like that probably anymore. I wouldn't say never, but that style of manufacturing is probably going to go away. But
why do you think it's going to go away?
Just advances in like additive manufacturing and some of the newer ways of doing things. So,
like what more cost effective means, or just different ways of manufacturing?
Just different ways of doing it.
Okay.
So, because some of those older like engines for rockets and stuff, I mean, they were literally a bunch of tubes, and they basically hard brazed them together, right? So you got like a huge stack of a bunch of tubes, and you put it in this giant furnace, and then.
Oh, that's what the rockets essentially are, like the rocket boosters are. It's just a whole bunch of tubes, and then a giant thing encapsulating all those tubes.
So you have the nozzle portion, right?
Yeah.
So for most, sorry, I don't have a good representation.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
A whiteboard, but in the nozzle of it, right? So you have the combustion chamber, and the hot gases are burning up here. Well, that gets really hot, and as it goes towards the throat, there's a lot of pressure, and it's insanely hot, and it'll melt through the material. Right, and so
melt through the metal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what they do is for those bigger engines, and I mean this goes for pretty much any bigger, larger, modern liquid-fueled rocket engine. You would take one of your propellants, right? Usually it's cryogenic, so it's super cold, and it'll flow down to the torus. Right, so at the bottom of the nozzle, you see they have a big donut usually. Like a super cold propellant will flow through there, and there's a bunch of little tubes. Basically in there, little cooling channels, and so that super cold propellant will go through there, and it'll allow heat transfer to happen, so it's not just burning the throat of the chamber, and then that will flow back up there to go into the combustion chamber to cool it, right? So how they used to do that back in the old days was they had just literally a bunch of tubes that they basically brazed together, or for some of them basically machined it out, and then they did electrochemical plating, right? Which is you're literally adding a layer of metal over these channels that are machined out that have wax in them, basically one atom at a time, and that takes a super long time.
One atom at a time?
Yeah. So
it's covered. It's a metal that's glazed over it or something?
Well, I guess, yeah, you could say it's kind of like glazing, but basically it's machined out, and you have the wax in there for the channel, right?
Yeah.
And then put it in a solution. They apply a current to it, and then like basically that metal adheres to it, and then just it takes a long time for it to like build up thick enough for you to remachine it, and then they would heat it up and all the wax would come out, right? So we're talking like super, super long time to do. With like additive manufacturing and some of these other things, you can do that much, much quicker, right? That's kind of why it probably won't, like that type of manufacturing won't carry forward.
So it's just labor
I would say never
intensive?
say never, but it probably won't carry forward. But the thing is like, something happened to that, like you can't replace that type of stuff, right? And that's some people don't appreciate that, like supply chain kind of issues as well too, with a lot of things. I mean, that can be going back to things that I'm a little bit more familiar with. Those can be just huge issues. I mean, there's been a time where like I literally had to wait for just a bearing because it had some special surface coating.
A bearing?
Just a bearing, just a little tiny bearing. I had to wait like 7 months.
7 months. How much was that thing cost?
It was pretty expensive.
For one bearing?
So, well, we ordered like 5. So per unit costs, they're pretty expensive.
We talking like tens of thousands or 20,000s? You allowed to say? No?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But very, very expensive.
Yeah, they're just expensive. But that's the thing though. It's like they're not gonna like shut down a whole production line to just make your 5 bearings, right? They have to wait for like enough other people to order.
Oh,
so that way
to stack it.
Yeah,
okay.
so when they like, well, you can pay to expedite it, but then the cost is like
astronomically higher.
It's insane, right?
Yeah.
But they're gonna wait until they have to build like
100.
Yeah, a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe whatever the threshold is, it might be tens of thousands of them, right? So they're gonna, because they have to set all their machines up to do it.
Okay.
Right? They're not just gonna like completely take a whole production line out and make your 5 things and then like, try to reset everything back up to make something else. It's just not how that works, right?
Makes sense.
And so, I mean,
are these manufactured in the United States?
Yeah.
So for something to be mil spec, does it have to be manufactured in the United States?
There's certain, I mean, that's kind of a loaded question. So
is it
technically per the mil spec, there's nothing in there. And in some of the ones I've read, it's like it has to be built by exactly this entity.
Yeah.
But there's other like laws and regulations and stuff that determine like who you're allowed to like purchase material from or who you can get things manufactured. So
okay, but it's not like you have to get this made in the United States for it to be mil spec.
No.
So it can be made outside of the United States.
Yeah, like I mean, that happens. There's things that are manufactured by places in like Europe and stuff that like have to meet our mil spec.
Oh, okay, so we can get parts
Yeah.
for things that are from outside of the United States for mil spec.
If it wasn't that way,
things.
we'd be like totally boned. Because I mean, there's like if we go back to our ships example, I mean, like we were at one point in time before certain things got canceled and stuff, we were like gonna basically take a foreign designed ship and just modify it slightly to our needs. It's not what happened because mission creep happened and then it blew up. But I mean, between
what time frame was that?
This is pretty recent with the Constellation class.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it was supposed to, when that project happened, it was supposed to have like 80% commonality of parts. And then by the time it got to the point where like they were like, okay, we're gonna start building these things, it had like less than 20%.
Have you seen anything about the Trump class?
Yeah.
Ships? Do you know anything about any of that?
I mean, I can give an opinion for what that's worth, but
yeah. Do you know? Because I really don't know anything about it, and I'm not like an engineer or building ships.
So I mean, no matter what you say about it, it's going to be divisive, right? It's one of those things. But there's what was said in a press conference, right? And then there's kind of what's being presented. I will tell you that just based off the designation, because the designation they have on there is BBG, which means guided missile battleship, because that's what the designation of it is.
BBG?
Yes.
Okay.
Because BB would just be battleship. It's one of those things where people are just going to be like, oh, it's just a battleship and it's going to be the world's biggest target and all this other stuff. And once again, like it really is context. I'm going to say that even though I'm going to have negative things to say about it later. But it really is context. Depending on what you're trying to do with it and what it actually ends up being outfitted with and what the final result is, because I'll tell you, as it stands right now with the, kind of rendering and stuff, it's kind of all over the place and it's not as focused as it probably should be, and some of it's kind of nonsensical, and I can go into a little bit greater detail on why that is. The idea of having a bigger ship to act as a flagship that primarily carries like missiles and, guns for fire support is not exactly like the craziest idea in the world. It just isn't. Does it make sense necessarily for what we're trying to do? Like, that's really hard to answer in some aspects because I'm not privy to what, the rest of the 30-year shipbuilding plan is, right?
It's fair.
And what the conversations have had. But I will tell you, based off just what's been presented, like, I don't, like, the ship's going to get bigger than the, like, 35,000 tons that they're projecting, just because the energy requirements of lasers and the railgun that they want, plus all the computers.
They're wanting a railgun?
Yes.
Okay, so they're wanting to have a bunch of high-tech stuff on there?
Yeah, you're probably not going to do it with the steam turbine that they want.
No.
And
probably going to need nuclear.
And that's where I would tell people, like, the honest answer is it's probably just never going to get built, right? It's not going to get built in 3 years unless we're going to pause aircraft carrier construction. Because, like I said, there's only one place really that we can make that achievable, and we need aircraft carriers. Some of the technology that they want for it is not exactly like out of this world. It's going to happen. Like, laser weapons are going to happen. They're on ships. I've seen them.
They're already on ships right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. You got the Helios.
Yep.
That's on some of them. And then, what's the name? Is it the Dragon Breath or something? What Dragon something on the UK ships?
Yeah.
And then the Chinese have, I forget, there's one that's specifically designed for ships, but they had them mounted on like vehicles for their military parade celebrating victory over World War II or something like that. Yeah. They were like bringing them down. There's just like it looks like the Eye of Sauron. It's like a gigantic freaking eye.
Yeah. And like I know we had a railgun program for like a long time and just kind of couldn't make it work. The Japanese have been spending time and effort and stuff on that.
Yeah.
So I mean, those things are coming, and like I said, I'm trying to be objective because there's a part of me that wants to have the knee-jerk reaction, just be like, oh, it's gonna be like this is the dumbest thing ever,
right?
For like actual reasons, like not just being like this is dumb, but I mean actually having like some reasoning behind why like this is probably not a good idea. But I want to give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes, even though like it goes against both my experience and my nature. Could it be something that once some time spent on it and it's a little bit more focused in its role, be something that's usable? Yeah. I still don't honestly know how they're going to get it built in a timely fashion, though. And that
I think that's what a lot of people's concerns are. Like, how are they going to build it? Where are they going to build it? Where are they getting the materials?
How are you going to power it?
How are you going to power it? Yeah, how are you going to power it? What are you going to power it with? I don't know if they're going to make that, secret no foreign, if that's going to be classified or what,
Oh yeah, I mean, all that to some extent will happen, but it just I don't see how it fits in what we're trying to do in the future, other than just like it could be better explained if someone sat me down in the room, because I mean there might be, like I said, I don't know the context of how it came to be. I just know that like, hey, that just got popped out in everybody's lap, and then obviously there was much wailing and gnashing of teeth in either direction over it.
Yeah,
there are some real issues with it. But, some of those issues actually kind of highlight a much different issue with our shipbuilding capability in the U.S. And this isn't something that happened overnight. This is something that's been
bubbling up.
It's been 20, 25, 30 years in the making.
Yep.
Out of big, expensive military programs, the Navy has kind of been one of the worst offenders in some aspects with shipbuilding and not being able to
and maintenance
run a program. And like, I'm not trying to blame anybody individually, but I mean, at some point in time, you kind of have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, we needed to build some of this stuff a long time ago, and the next best thing is to build it like now. And we keep canceling projects, and that's kind of an issue too with just the shipbuilding industry in general, where like there's been just huge delays, and maybe in some aspects because for the aerospace side of thing, which I'm a little bit more familiar with, the cost plus programs have been kind of like not what they used to be, right? So it used to be in some aspects, and some of this is well before my time, we're like, okay, it's just whatever it costs to make it happen, right? Just do it.
Yeah.
And, it's getting more to a point where like, hey, you said it was going to cost this much, you better build it for that much, right? And
You better be,
Yeah, and
sign
maybe-
here on this dotted line and make
Yeah.
sure it's guaranteed.
and maybe in shipping that's kind of slipped a little bit, but it's also we don't have as many shipyards as we used to, and when those places dry up, the places that used to give the shipyard parts and the people who did things for the shipyards, those businesses dry up, and so you gotta spend a lot of time to rebuild that whole supply chain, and that's really difficult. Like I said, just building ships in general is very difficult.
Yeah.
Even for some of the things, and I know some people will just be like, we should be automating everything and doing all this other stuff, but like you have to really consider like it's a much different environment than just building drones, right? Like drones that fly, because typically drones that fly, depending on the context you're talking about them, like it's either a one-way trip, so you kind of don't care about maintenance and some of these other things, or they can maybe be in the air for a while. I have an idea how long that is for some things, but I can't give you a brown number.
Yeah,
for that.
no, I got you.
So,
I got you.
but just know that like it has to land, right? Well,
Yeah.
the thing is with like, okay, well, I can make a drone ship. That's not hard, but
Like a ship that's like automated ship.
yeah, that's not necessarily the difficult part. But it's like, okay, well, it might be at sea for like 3 weeks and things break. Like, who's gonna fix? Like, are you just gonna your ship's just gonna sink because no one's there to fix it?
Yeah. Are you going to have robots on the automated ship that perform automatic maintenance if something breaks? How are you going to monitor that?
Yeah,
Are there going to be sensors on everything? What if the sensors go
yeah,
bad?
and it's just not there yet.
We'll get there.
in that aspect, and so like part of it's because the ocean is not like flying through the air. The ocean wants to kill you.
Yes.
And sometimes when you're out in the ocean, it goes from I will kill you if you're not paying attention to like passively trying not to kill you to actively trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Just due to storms and things like, and once again, you're in a ship. You can't just like, let me fly at like 700 mile an hour this way.
Yeah.
Like you're stuck. And so you have to be out there in rough sea states. You have to be able to operate, and everything's corroding. Everything, the seawater's just trying to eat literally everything on the ship from the moment.
Yeah.
Like it's not even in the water. Like you're building the thing, and the thing is wanting to already like destroy itself, just sitting next to the ocean. Right?
Yeah, just in the air that happens to have salt in it. Yeah.
And so like it's difficult in some aspects. Like I said, it's not impossible. I mean, we could definitely rebuild, those supply chains and invest in naval shipping and stuff, but it's more of like a will thing, and then like, do you want to spend all that money to do it? Because it's going to be expensive.
And I know that you were talking about wanting to get involved in that in some way.
Yeah. I mean, I very much enjoy what I do now, but that's one of those things that like I would like to get more involved in, like naval architecture and building ships, and starting my own little thing to help in any capacity in that aspect. Because as the joke goes, you get different forms of autism. Some people like trains, right? Some people like the planes and stuff. Like I really enjoy ships.
Yeah.
And I enjoy a lot of things with the ocean. And I mean, it kind of goes back to being in the Marine Corps and stuff, and really understanding. I know, even though this will ruffle some feathers, but like real power projection comes from the Navy.
Yeah.
Like it really does.
Hate to break it to you. It's true.
Like, yes, the Air Force and can do amazing things, and it has done amazing
and so
things.
can the Army.
But like, if you need to move a lot of stuff, we just like the only way we can do it is just a really big boat.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, like we have big planes that can move stuff. It's just not the same as just a big ship where you just throw it in, all of it in
just throw all of it,
including the McDonald's.
Yeah.
And the green, the green leaf, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it should bother people. It really should bother people that like that's a capability that has, because it's just not the sexy things, right? The surface combatant vessels that are also important too. Like it's all of the other things too, right? Because it's logistics.
Yeah.
And you and I have so many conversations about this.
Yeah.
It's all the logistical stuff too. It's all the, you need oilers, you need things. I mean, there are things that people like. I mean, granted, there are things the navies are doing to help with this specific thing I want to talk about. One of the things that we don't appreciate sometimes is like all of our ships with vertical launch systems in them, the cells.
Yeah.
Like when they fire those, like we don't have a really awesome, super nifty way to reload that underway.
You talking about like the missiles?
Yeah.
Oh, like the Tomahawk missiles and all that other stuff?
Yes. So like
you don't have a way to reload that underway because you have to load it when you're at dock with a
they
crane?
do, but typically like you have to go back to a port and do that, because like you have to think like big giant ship next to another big giant ship in the ocean, and they're all moving.
And they're moving all over the place.
And
yeah.
I'm trying to move just a tiny missile from one ship to the other, right?
Yeah.
And I say that sarcastically, but like that's hard.
Yeah.
That's like it's a difficult thing. And you wouldn't think of that normally sometimes, or you wouldn't appreciate that, if you're only talking about like, aerial systems. Because like, well, they just land back on, and it's like, yeah, you still have to reload those too, but they land back on something, and that thing is moving with the other thing.
Yeah.
So you just put the thing on it, right? Or, they go and land on some airstrip somewhere, and you just tack things to it. Like it's like moving supplies from one ship to another is a pretty big deal. Like, yes, I mean, we do it regularly, and we do have some things that are capable of reloading that stuff at sea, but it's not like a super, like, this is a done deal. We just do this all the time, and it's just like this regular, thing, right?
Yeah. I've seen people like, they're like running stuff from lines from ship to ship.
Mm-hmm.
Like packages or crates or whatever it is.
Like food.
Food, yeah.
Yep. If you've ever
I've
been
seen
on
merchant marine vessels doing that.
Yeah. If you've ever been on one of those working parties, it's terrible.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
Because it's the Navy, and then you in the Marine Corps, you're like, I'm a corporal, I eat something. And then like in the Navy, it's like, if you ain't a chief.
Yeah, if you ain't an
Get out
E7,
there.
you ain't
like,
nothing.
So your platoon sergeant, it's a staff sergeant that like you would never ask to do anything. Like if he bent down to pick up a piece of trash, like you're gonna slay somebody because he had to, bend his back more than 10 degrees.
Like, you dare make my staff sergeant do this?
He's down there in the same hole you are, like slinging food, right? But I mean, those are huge things, and we don't typically think about that stuff all the time. Or I mean, or even just some of the other things that are, like I said, they're not the sexy part of the fleet. Like some of our icebreakers, we have 3 of them. One of them is almost 20 years past its service life.
You talking about the Coast Guard?
Like our icebreakers, yeah.
Yeah.
And like
the Coast Guard, does the Navy have icebreakers or just the Coast Guard?
I think it's just the Coast Guard that
Yeah.
operates them.
Yeah, I think that they're pretty old for sure. I know one of them, you said 30 years?
It's like 20 years past its service life almost.
Oh, wow. 20 years.
Yes. So they've done like refits after refits after refits, right?
Putting Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids.
And that's one of those things that, like I said, once again, you wouldn't think of being like that important, but like you got to think 30 years in the future, right? And so, I mean, there are other navies that are building a substantial fleet that's ice capable. So it's like
Russia, for example.
Yes. So you have to think to yourself, okay, like, do I need to spend the time and effort to do that, or do I just not care?
Yeah.
And it's hard. That part is really, really difficult, right? On top of other issues. So
yeah. Shipbuilding is something I know that the current administration's talked about. They're bringing shipbuilding back to America. I haven't seen any specifics on that, and like obviously, in order to be able to like be like, okay, yep, it looks like this is happening. I like to see like, here's the data, but I'm sure that there's also some like national security stuff involved with like concealing those capabilities to adversaries as well. So, I mean, I doubt we'll even hear about like the nitty gritty specifics on how they're going to get these things up and running and where they're going to be logistically getting the materials from to build it and who's going to be doing it and where they're going to be opening them up at. I know some of it's open source. You could probably find some of that stuff, but I think it's important. Like you said, I think like the reason that the U.S. military was able to project so much power out into the world was because of the Navy.
Yeah.
Like we have the world's most powerful Navy. And it's been like that since, pretty much World War II, That doesn't mean we have the most ships. That just means we have the most capable Navy, which makes me wonder if well, I feel like a lot of our ships are like needing to be refurbished and like need to be fixed. So, but that if we're still like that good, then what does that say about the other navies around the world?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it goes back to shipbuilding's hard.
It is.
And
it is. The Chinese seem to be figuring it out somewhat, but I don't know to what degree.
But like I said, there's context always matters, right? When you talk about this, like the what's really difficult about building ships for us is we were in the same situation potentially as like China, where like we really only need to build a navy to defend our coastline. That makes everything infinitely easier, right?
Yeah.
But like.
That's not why we built our Navy.
Yeah, but the ships that we build, like, they need to operate everywhere.
On the planet, yeah.
And they also need to be able to do other things besides just, like, combat. Sometimes they need to be out there to
humanitarian
do humanitarian things, to to do search things. There have been many things where the Navy's been called out there to help search for things.
Yeah.
Like, they need to be capable in many different areas besides just like, I carry a bunch of weapons and guns and I can blow things up, right? And that makes that difficult. But if I only have to build a ship that doesn't need to be out at sea for a very long time, then I start to not have to build a bunch of the other components, right? It really depends on what you're doing, right? Like, you can't just look at any one ship design and completely dismiss it piecemeal, but at the same time, you can't just look at what one Navy built and be like, okay, we're just going to build 100 of those because it works for them, because they built that with completely different goals in mind, and it may not do what you want it to do. And it may do what you want it to do now, but it may not do what you want it to do 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah.
And any one that you build, you're talking 30-year investments. Like, those ships are going to be around for 30 years.
That's a big deal. What do you think? Do you think China's going to invade Taiwan before 2027? What do you think?
The possibilities are always obviously there for something like that to happen, but it just hopefully nothing does. Right?
I hope that's what I keep saying, because that would be so detrimental to the world's economy, like everything, everywhere. You know, I know that's the Davidson window. The 2027 is the Davidson window, like deadline. So, you know, that's where he predicted they were going to either make a move by then, or they're not going to make a move at all. Or,
yeah. I mean, it's always a possibility. Like, I don't think we have some of the stuff we'd like to have.
Yeah.
For that to happen, but it just, at the same time, it would be much different, in my opinion, than like Russia going to war with Ukraine.
Yeah, I think it would be too.
Like, China's a pretty large trade partner with us in some things. I mean, I know some of the situations have changed because of tariffs and stuff, but I mean, traditionally, there's a lot of trade that's went back and forth for a lot of things and stuff. So, like, I don't think anybody, like, economically wants to do that.
Yeah, I hope not.
But really, at the end of the day, it comes down to, I mean, not even just because, like, hey, China says, like, Taiwan's a part of us and it should have, you know, we should never treat it differently. It's always been a part of China.
Yeah.
Wars aren't typically fought for that. They're fought for resources. They're fought for control of trade, access to things, land, right? I mean, so, like, it's kind of one of those things that, like, if the status quo is okay, then, like, it may never happen.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, you can't sit there and look at the amount of time and effort they're using to develop certain things, and, you know, they're training, they're getting ready for it. It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen, but, you know, one of these times, the training for it is going to not be training.
That's my concern. It's like, oh, they're doing military drills that they're planning this week.
Yeah.
What if that military drill turns out to be like the real thing? Because you look at like the occupation of Ukraine right now by Russian forces. They said they were going in to do a special military operation, and then here we are 4 years later. You know, literally 4 years. Somebody could have gotten to high school and be graduating this year, and the war was going on the entire time they were in high school.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about, you know?
Like, nobody should want it.
No, I mean, it's terrible for humanity.
Just it happens sometimes. It happens for reasons that don't feel good.
Yeah.
I know we tend to put a lot of, you know, feel good things on military actions, you know, like, it's the right thing to do, or, you know, it's
we're liberating these people. They're going to greet us as liberators.
Yeah, it's for good and evil and stuff. But I mean, it's the government doesn't think in those terms. Like, it thinks in terms of interests. What's the long term plan for this?
Game?
Like, what's going to come out of this? What's going to be a result of doing this? Because, like, you can go do something and then, like, that might turn into a wider regional conflict. You have to hope that the people that are in charge are making the best decisions they can with the information they have, right? And,
yes.
And it's messy. That's the reality that people don't like. They want nice little neat packages that are easy to digest and stuff. And like, wars happen for lots and lots and lots of reasons, and all of them are kind of true and not true at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of gray.
And so it can be a really, really messy thing.
Either way, look, we're gonna have to do another one of these for sure, because like there's a lot of other stuff I want to get into with you. We're unfortunately like short of time because I gotta probably another hour and a half drive to hit somewhere else. But again, I'm glad that we were able to get together and do this, even if it was only for like, you know, 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah.
And it's also good to like be able to like see you again after like not seeing you since 2018. It's been like 8 years almost now.
Yeah, it's been
but we've still talked on the phone and kept in touch, which I think is also good too. You know, I would encourage anybody out there that watches this, like if there's somebody you haven't called in a while, maybe just give them a call, see how they're doing. Shoot them a text. Even if you don't want to call, just shoot them a text. You know, even if they can't respond that day, I'm sure they probably will. You know, I try to text people when I can or when I have the opportunity to, or if I can't answer like that day, I almost always try to call back at some point. You know, I think it's important, you know, because like nobody cares more about, you know, folks in this community than the folks that, you know, especially that you served with and stuff like that. I think that's important. I know you've got some really cool stuff coming with your life, professionally speaking. And I'm looking forward to these new chapters for that journey and seeing how that kind of stuff turns out. I know we didn't really get into the weeds on that stuff necessarily, but maybe one day. Yeah, at some point I'm sure we will. But I hope, you know, I wish you nothing but the best with everything you've got going on. And you know, I hope that they pay you what you're worth and they figure out how much you're worth. And they're like, wow, dude, we need to start giving this guy like $200K a year or something like that, dude. You know what I mean? You're going to be an asset wherever you're at. And, obviously you've busted your ass for a long time being a mortarman in 2-3. And you became extremely good at that. And now you're in a new profession and you're pouring every ounce of your fiber of your being into it. And you're going to become extremely proficient at that too.
Well, I mean, it like I said, it goes back to what one of my platoon commanders said. There's only two things you got to do. And it's like, know your shit and give a shit. That's it. That's all you got to do.
I think that keeps it pretty simple.
Yep.
Well, I like that. All right. Well, with that, we appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man.